All right, we're gonna go in here in 5, 4. Good evening, Canby. Welcome to a fun-filled city council work session this evening. We will convene the meeting and begin our work session about the swim center remodel, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Stein to make an introduction.
Council, tonight we have Eric Leighton. He's going to present very quickly the status report on the aquatic center, where we're at with the project, as well as proposed remodels. So, Eric, do you want to go ahead and come to the table and take it away?
Hello, how are you?
Great, Eric. How are you? Thanks.
Good.
Sorry about the delay.
It's all right. So basically, we would like to do a remodel, but we want to get some guidance from the city council, make sure everybody's on the same page, and get some direction before we move forward with anything. The first thing that is most important is probably the study that we have about the state of the swim center, and that it's 55 years old, and there are many things that need to be addressed, such as, most importantly, probably plumbing and electric. When we brought forth looking at doing a remodel before, after we had brought it forth, we realized that we probably need to do the plumbing in inlets underneath the pool itself also. Because all of those things all the plumbing is 55 years old. And as an example, last year we had to replace the main line into the Canby Swim Center for water, and it was disintegrating. So odds are that the plumbing underneath the facility is also in a similar state. We know that the shower drains are not intact completely, and that there's other things that will need to be addressed also. So probably what I need from you is what direction we want to take this. We can just try to fix things as we go, kind of band-aid it and do it that way, or we can put a plan together on how to remodel the parts that need to be done, including the dressing rooms and the office area, as well as underneath the pool, or looking at a long-term replacement. So before we move forward with anything else, we just want to make sure we know which direction to go.
Okay. Eric, what is your recommendation?
Well, we'd like to do a remodel of the front of the building, and then also do under the pool. We had originally come forth with also adding a classroom, but with the prices today versus 3 or 4 years ago, we're guessing we don't have enough money to add a classroom also. So we would have to go back to the engineers and find out the pricing and see how much we can do. We can do a light remodel if that's how much money we have, and then also do the piping under the pool, or we could do more if we have funds to do that. So we have set aside $1.5 million over the last 20, 30 years to make sure that we can take care of the facility. And so that would be our top end budget for the project.
The remodel project.
Remodel project.
Yeah, because I think originally we were talking about redoing the front of the pool. It was a conversation about adding kind of a party room or a gathering space in there as well, and that's just become too cost prohibitive.
I would think so. We definitely want to make our locker rooms more user friendly, because they're unique and not the most user friendly, and also add some additional changing rooms and for family changing rooms and bathroom and restrooms too. So that's part of the plan, but how far we go with it depends on how much it's going to cost if we go back to the engineers.
Yeah, Council, I would like to see an updated cost estimate, because it's been a number of years, and we don't know, what the inflationary cost increase would be. So I think it's good to at least start with getting a fresh set of numbers on the project and see how far $1.5 million will carry us. So.
Um, It's, Eric, I gotta say that, so now I've been on here 12 years, and you and your team have done an amazing job keeping a pool going to the capacity that you guys have done. And so I commend you guys for doing that. I think there's probably been years where it's felt like duct tape and baling twine to hold things together there, and you guys have still managed to make things work. I'm really, personally, I'm frustrated that we didn't pull this trigger sooner, and that's not your fault. I think that that's probably under various circumstances. I think, me personally, I think we need to include all the stuff under the pool that you were talking about as well. That's critical, I think, to keep the pool going. We don't know what it looks like in terms of a replacement or we just don't know.
Doesn't make sense to fix the dressing rooms and then have something go wrong with the pool, so.
Right, yeah. So, yes, Counselor Patton.
I also commend you for all of that you've done to squeeze the blood out of this rock for as many years as you have. What I'm curious about is one of the things that this group and I personally enjoy seeing are like a menu of options. And my first question is, if there was a party/meeting room, would that serve as some sort, would that serve in a revenue generating aspect? Like, would you be able to rent that room out to people who want to have swim parties and that sort of stuff? Or were you envisioning that as more of an all-inclusive sort of package?
Well, it depends on how big it is and what we end up doing, but obviously we'd use it as a meeting room, a classroom for lifeguard classes and such, and also use it for parties and renting it out. So there's lots of different uses. One room would make a big difference, so we could use it in lots of different ways. So,
Okay. I guess what I would be curious to do, what I would be curious to see is how much it would cost to get the plumbing fixed, because I can assure you that the pipes are screwed. I used to do some work with my pool in high school that our school had, and it was a nightmare. So I can only imagine after 50 years what that plumbing looks like underneath the pool. Then these locker room general updates. And then I would also like to see what the project would look like with the addition of a party room and maybe an excised meeting flex space room and like a little bit bigger one, and kind of see what that all pencils out to be. And even if it's something where in the short term, you might be able, because I'm assuming with this, I'd have to assume that with this meeting room stuff, it would be in addition to the building. It wouldn't be able to fit inside of the existing footprint, correct?
that's correct. There's no more room in the building.
Okay, so my curiosity would be is if this cycle, you know, if we're doing all of this construction work, maybe do the room itself and do that addition part, and then in a subsequent fiscal year, look at fitting the room out, right? If things are gonna be tore up now, it might make sense to spend a little money to build that room and get it like closed in, but not completely done yet, and then later on come in after we have built up some more funds to finish it off and do it in phases. Does that sound like it all makes sense?
I just don't want the phases to be in 10-year chunks.
Well, no, I think, you know, this group and others have talked about trying to build a new pool for as long as I've lived in Canby, and it's not gonna happen. There's been no long-term plan to identify land to build a new pool. There is no funds to do such a project. It just is what it is. So my opinion is a new pool is a 20, 30-year, like down the road sort of thing. We need to serve the community with what we've got. And now that we at least have a long-term agreement with the Canby School District, because really that's been one of the stumbling blocks with all of that there, is what the fate was as far as the land. And it seems like we have good footing with that, and we don't have to worry about being evicted any day soon. So I guess for me, it's like, we need to make sure we need to work with what we've got. And that's sort of my thoughts on that.
Counselor Stearns.
Just curious maybe it's part of my own ignorance about how pools work and everything, but is there a way that you could pay some money to actually get all the plumbing inspected? And, nowadays they put like cameras down and,
We've already had attempted to do that, but there's no way to go in the little inlets and check those under the pool. It's not possible.
okay, so basically you're gonna
But
be surprised when you
we-
go in there.
Well, we've had Public Works come and check our drains and things like that, and they can tell you that they aren't in great shape.
Okay, so we know that that it does need to
Yeah,
happen.
there's
Okay.
already issues.
I'm
yeah.
just curious if we know the extent of the damage at this point, or is it gonna be, a surprise and, when we take the
Well,
stuff out?
the study that they did, the engineering firm paid to do, that we had them do, shows that what condition each of the things is in, and basically it says that they're ready to be replaced.
So I would definitely be in favor of doing the needed maintenance and repairs and upgrades that are part of the system. It should be budgeted into any project as
Yeah, I think no matter
called depreciation.
this
allowance.
project, I know and Jerry will nod affirmatively when I mentioned the First Avenue project, going in and finding sewer lines and all sorts of water lines that were still in the ground that didn't even make a city plan. So I can only imagine what we will find once we open up the bottom of the pool and have to do all the plumbing work on that. So, did you have something? Councilor Lindley?
Well, I agree with Jason, Councilor Patton, that I would like to see a menu of how the pricing today looks for different options. But as far as the state of the pool itself and the plumbing, I'm also 55. I also have deteriorated issues. So I understand that we need to take care of these things. And
The analogy there, correlation.
the doctor says I've got it. So I wanted to see the maintenance or the repairs and maintenance required to keep the plumbing and the pool itself. That has to be first priority. And I'm likewise unique. So the next thing for me would be the dressing rooms.
Jerry, you were flagging me down. Did you have something?
No, it's fine.
So yeah, I just wanted to talk about the plumbing a little bit, and
Yes,
it's
please.
been quite a while since I've been on the crew, and I helped TB years ago, and I know Spencer's done stuff past, but the stuff that we could get our cameras in, like all the P-traps are gone from, and I don't know the pool talk and all that, whether it's from the chlorine or what. It's galvanized line, the recycle line, the reflush line, we would run our jetter up and try to cut it, and it's so filled with calcium that it's down to where we can barely get our cleaning stuff on it. And so the plumbing underneath it has hit its lifespan, just like in your sewer system and stuff like that, it's done. So I saw it firsthand, was really surprised that it actually lasted pretty good for 55 years in that condition. But
Yeah.
anyways, I just wanted to add to that.
I do commend you for your MacGyver ways.
Yeah.
So Eileen,
Yes.
and Eric, the last time the community passed the pool levy, we did factor in, I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, we did factor in some of these remodeling expenses and upgrades, did we not?
No, that's not part of the current pool levy. It's more what we've saved over the last 25 years.
Okay.
There are maintenance items that are included in the pool levy, but these aren't the ones that we were looking at, because these are a lot bigger ticket items. Like
Okay.
under the pool is probably gonna be $500,000.
Okay.
So, I mean, just a guess.
Sure.
So in terms of the order of priority, certainly the infrastructure of the pool, the the pipe and the electrical, the plumbing work is priority number one. The office, front office and locker room area is priority number two.
Mhm.
And then the party room, if you will, is priority number three. So we'll get cost estimates on all three of those and then just total it up and see, where we're at in terms of, we have $1.5 million saved up so far, and we'll just see where we get to with $1.5 million. So.
Okay, Counselor Patton.
Correct me if, jog my memory, how many more years do we have on the current pool levy? Is it 2?
Goes through June of 2027.
Oh, so yeah, it's just recent. Okay. I'll
See
hold
where you're
my,
headed.
I'll
Yeah,
hold
do too.
my comments for a couple more years if I'm still on this body, and if not, I'll be down there and make my comments.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes, Counselor Stearns.
When I was bringing up the pool issue on with several people in the community, the main stream of thought was, and you probably already know this, is that those changing rooms changed a little bit, especially for people with young children. It seems like every time they come, they get a show that the young children do, and that's kind of the overriding concern with the people I shared with this work session. Ideas what they definitely want that. So I just wanted to bring that up, that's definitely a priority amongst the people who I talked to, which are mostly family people.
That's what you get with a 1969 standard.
Well, and again, I mean, I think we have direction here
That's what I'm
to
sensing.
city staff to come back and let's piecemeal it out. And obviously, it sounds like the plumbing and the electrical is the priority,
Yeah.
followed by the locker rooms, because they are very much overdue for upgrades and updating.
Mhm.
And then, how do we remodel it to where we can eventually add? Because I know that was, again, 3-4 years ago, that was a big part of the conversation, was locker rooms and adding that room. And now I think we knew that probably pipes and electrical are gonna be an issue when you talk about a 55-year-old building, so.
Yeah, you at first need to have an asset to be able to attract people too.
Mhm.
And if you don't take care of the pool, the rest of the facility is,
The plumbing and the electrical was part of the initial plan for the locker rooms and dressing room, but we hadn't thought about the swimming pool itself. So that's why we changed our direction a little bit, because that's as old as the piping underneath the dressing rooms.
Sure, yeah.
So,
Well, and correct me if I am wrong, but for years now, there's always been this sort of push and pull of like, do we really want to spend money on the building? Because we really would like a new pool and we don't really own the land. And that's been going on now for a decade. And I think it's just time
Plus,
to pull the Band-Aid off and say, this is what we've got to make this work, and we got to make it last. And if making these upgrades over the course of this year and maybe another year or so to get it all phased in so that we can get what we need, and it'll last another 15 years, it'll give some wiggle room for a larger plan to hopefully move into a much better facility.
yeah,
The,
that's what I'm thinking.
the Newburgh pool and the Forest Grove pool were built the same time as our pool. And Newburgh tore theirs down and put a new one in, and Forest Grove did a major remodel of theirs. And Forest Grove was probably 10 years ago, and Newburgh's been 5 years ago now.
yeah, the Newburgh one, that's the Chehalem,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's a beautiful
yeah, it's a nice
building and
place.
facility, yeah. No, I think, again, Eric, thank you. You've been an extremely patient person and have done, again, an amazing job with you and your team.
I know that David Biscar's here, and he's taking, he's retired, but he helped take care of that pool
No,
for
yeah,
30 years, so I just want to say that.
okay. Eileen, any idea in terms of timeline back to us on this?
I don't know, it's right before Christmas. I'll check, I can check with the,
I'm not saying I want something,
Yeah.
January 1st, but
I
That's
would
why I'm
think-
asking you
Yeah.
guys what, based on workload and whatnot.
Get a big
like
lump of coal.
Next couple of months?
Yeah, I would think so.
3-4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 or 4 months.
Okay. Any other questions for Eric or for staff at all? No. Well, Eric, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate giving us an update. For those of you, like, in your packets of pages, there's a lot of different renderings of the designs and whatnot. So there's definitely some really great looking options and what could be for our swim center. So it's exciting to see. I'd love to see how we can make it happen sooner than later again.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Stein, do we have anything else regarding our work session right now? Okay. Well, I will call our work session to a close. Those of you at home that just tuned in, and those of you here, we had some technical difficulties, so the city council meeting will start here shortly. So stick with us, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Good evening, Canby. Welcome to our regular city council meeting. I apologize for the delay. We had some technical difficulties before our work session, but we are here now to take care of some fun Canby business. If you all please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this amazing community. Special time of the year to celebrate, connect with family and friends, and just have a sense of community and camaraderie. I thank you for the leaders up here in our community. Please keep everyone safe throughout the holidays, whatever holidays those may be that they celebrate. I ask these in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next on the agenda this evening is the finalizing of the new city administrator hiring and contract. So as many of you know, we went through a very arduous process of conducting a search and narrowed it down to 3 candidates for our city administrator position. And our current interim was one that applied and interviewed and has been chosen to fill that role. So through much consternation and finagling of the contract, I think we are here to have some dialogue as a council to hopefully, I think, probably approve, making Eileen nervous tonight, approve her contract and officially make her our city administrator. Is there any questions or comments based on the contract or other pieces? Yes. Councilman Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There you go, Gordon. I love everything about this, except I do have one little stickler point. And it's section 10C. Employee will generally perform work in the office, but may occasionally work from home. I understand that at this point, being that she lives in Salem and she has not yet fulfilled part of the requirement of moving to town. So I'm just hoping that once she is residing within the city limits, that would be, she's deathly ill and she has to work from home.
I hope if she's deathly ill.
I don't want her
she's
to be deathly
working
ill,
on-
let me be
Gotcha.
clear on that.
Yes.
But rather than infect the entire city hall, she's going to work from home. But if she is healthy and willing and able, if she's healthy and able, I want her to be willing to be in the office. She needs to lead by example. We have enough folks that are working from home that's kind of been a stickler point with some folks in the community. In fact, I know of somebody who has not been able to reach anybody in a certain department all week. So I want to work to the end of getting people working back in the office. And I think that the city administrator needs to lead by example and therefore be in the building.
Okay. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. How was this process? Who negotiated the contract and how did the contract come about?
So at the direction of you all, I negotiated the contract with Eileen and through the help with Kevin, our HR director.
Okay, I just wondered who was involved with establishing the contract. And I also actually today picked out that exact same thing. I think we need to modify that language because it's very, very vague when it says generally perform work and occasionally work from home. I mean, as a manager, I don't even think we need that language in it because we allow our managers to run their own time, so I frankly look at that as not even needed in the contract.
Kevin, would you mind coming up to the microphone? So this is a joint question to you and to Maya. Previous city administrator contracts, is this an item that's been in there?
Not regularly, because it hasn't been something that was prior to 2020 that was very popular.
Okay. I personally don't have a problem because even myself as a director in my job, I occasionally work from home. Now, I don't abuse it. I have somebody that would hold me accountable if I was abusing it. Just like I think if there was something going on from, as her board, her boss, that if there was a significant issue, that would be brought to our attention either by community members or by staff to say, hey, here's the deal. She's not in a whole lot. Or we're seeing just a lot of absenteeism. Again, I don't see it, the language as a problem, and I understand the concerns of some of us up here that have expressed that before. So I acknowledge that piece at all. I just still trying to scratch my head and wrap my mind around it. So yes, Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't want to, if I came off that I implied that she would abuse it, I apologize. I don't think that Ms. Stein would abuse that privilege. It's just that I would like to see a change in the culture of the building in its entirety, and she needs to lead by example. And if she wants to expect her employees to work from the building, then she needs to be in the building. And that was my point of it. I want to see that shift because customer service is failing in some areas, and the way to fix it is to be here and, like I said, lead by example.
Okay. Councilor Stearns and Councilor Patton. Did you have something?
Oh, not really. I sort of interpret that clause to mean that she's always on the clock and she can be called upon to work from home or from here, but I don't know if it'll be taken as an excuse to come. I guess we'll have to ask her to just not come to Canby, I guess, but.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Councilor Patton?
I have no problem with the hybrid work thing. Hybrid work is here to stay. We are going to spend the next several years navigating how hybrid work works and how it integrates into modern work in general. This is all part of that process. The city administrator answers to this group. If they go through regular performance evaluations, if there's a problem, it will come to light in that performance evaluation. And if at that point in time, a certain number of days or some sort of modification needs to be made to the contract, I believe modifications can be made to the contract. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
City council can modify it.
So for me, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Davis.
When we talk about hybrid came from COVID and people working, and now this is a public sector, hence the word public, and public accessibility. It's not private. It's not a private business, and even Amazon is now requiring their employees to come back to work in the buildings and stuff. Portland, of all places, is also now starting to get their employees to come back to work in their buildings, because it is public, and it also supports the businesses in town by having the public employees at City Hall accessing the restaurants, the coffee shops and things like that. So it also helps out the businesses as well by having the employees back in the office. And again, I reemphasize that she's our top manager, and I don't think that we need to even have it in there, that if she happens to be at home because she's flexing time or whatever it might be, I'm sure she's going to pay attention to her business, you know. So that's why I say I don't think we need it in there.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's just strike sections 10C completely. And then the contract could stand as it remains.
Okay.
Do I need to make a motion to that effect, or?
Well, if that is the case, then, and it does get removed, then we will rewrite the
Back to the
contract.
negotiating table.
And then, yes, Eileen and I will need to continue to negotiate that piece. And bring this back for approval in a separate meeting. So.
Okay.
Council, would it help if I just describe how I have worked? You know, I have been on the job 5 days a week. I prefer to be in the office 5 days a week. I think this provision might have come from even my Westland employment contract. The only times I have worked at home, and because I do live in Salem, is when I have had social obligations in Eugene. And I didn't want to drive all the way to Canby in order to have to turn around and drive all the way to Eugene. So that's the only times that I have worked at home. Or if there is, you know, a conference again, you know, that I'm going to go in the opposite direction of Canby. Other than that, I have been in the office and I prefer to work in the office. So if that gives you more comfort, that's how I've used that provision before. So, you know, my intention is to be in the office every day. I would, I just work better at work than I do at home.
The other piece that I will add to that, our next step, once this is approved, is to sit down and talk goal setting and kind of job performance pieces with our city administrator. And we could put some parameters around what does this look like, or how does this get communicated? If it's, you know, because and please correct me, Eileen, 6 months or about 6 months you've been here? 4.
I think 5.
5 months. And I think you've worked remotely once a month since being here, and I believe that that's been communicated to your directors and to the council when she wasn't going to be here. So that to me does not seem as a work from home situation. Yes, Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, my point, she's been doing that for 4 months now without a contract. And I trust that she's and where she's currently living, that works well for her. Let her decide when she has to do that, but I don't think it should be in the contract, because we can't then hold other employees expecting them to come with that in her contract.
Okay, my argument to that piece is that's not our responsibility, that's hers.
Exactly, but you're going to continue to hear me talk about getting the employees back in the city hall.
I would expect that, sir. Yes, Council President Hensley, and then Councilor Patton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree, and you know that you'll also hear it from me, not just Councilor Davis. But I also agree that that is her job to get people back in the building. I think we should strike the language of C completely. And you're right, we can set those parameters in goal setting sessions. She can take her prerogative to work from home from time to time when the need arises. But if we memorialize it in a contract, we set a precedent for future contracts, and I don't want to see that happen.
Okay, contracts are fluid, and as Kevin explained, we can revisit this every year.
this sets a precedent, and, well, you've done it before. No, I want this. If we strike C, it doesn't make her come in every day. She can still work from home. If we strike C, it gives us more freedom in the future to make sure that our contracts are tight, and there's no loosey-goosey, there's no precedent set that we've done this before. I want it, and Kevin's admitted we've never done it before. So why are we
Okay.
gonna start now? Take it out and leave it out.
Two things. One, I would say if she is opting to work from home more than being in the building, then we treat that as a performance issue. And number two, we have done a number of things where we have changed under the guise of precedence or not doing something because it wasn't, one change of precedent does not make. So,
I'm a no on this contract with the C in it.
okay. Yes, Councilor Patton.
The precedent has already been set. There are other contracts with employees in the city that have this language in it. This is becoming standard language in employment contracts because as the face of work evolves, let's face it. And I'm just going to be blunt, honest with folks here. People of my age, younger, look for things like this in their contracts because of the way society is changing. For instance, many of us have aging parents, and the way our health system is set up, they are not able to get the health care that they need. And so it then falls upon the children and other family members to help them through that process. That is why people like myself look for language like this in these agreements, because at times they are going to need help navigating this. I am fine with the contract as is. And to the argument that other employees get upset that other employees are able to work from home and not, the fact of the matter is every job comes with a job requirement, a list of things that the job entails. And not everybody is able to do the same things that everybody wants to do. Someone who is digging trees in the dirt may envy me because I'm a sales rep and I get to drive around in my car and work in my office. If they want to work in the office, then they can become a salesperson, or they can continue to dig trees. This is the nature of work. And so I will say that, at least for me, and you can continue to debate if you want, but I am fine with the contract as is. And I would be willing to make a motion to move forward with the contract as written.
Councilor Stearns, anything you want to add?
I'm agnostic about the issue. Looking at the way that's written, I think a default in the contract would be difficult to precisely be recognized and be enforced. I think, if I'm happy the way it is, if she ends up working from home all the time, we can review it. If I don't think she has in the past, and I think there's a lot of it, work is based on trust and monitoring, and a piece of paper isn't going to save you one way or the other. Having lots of experience with legal matters, this kind of clause, it doesn't affect me at all, but I'm not going to die for it or against the clause. I mean, I'll vote for it the way it is, but if everybody else doesn't want it, I'm not going to be offended or anything.
All right, so yes, Councilor Patton.
I'm not sure if I've missed the language or not, but I move to ratify the contract with Eileen Stein as our city administrator as proposed to us.
Okay. Motion has been made by Councilor Patton to approve the contract with the city administrator as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded by Councilor Stearns. Any further discussion?
I really think that we shouldn't be memorializing this provision in an employment contract that was designed for a limited time during a pandemic. So I don't think that we should be memorializing it going forward in these contracts, and I will remain a no if it stays in.
Okay. So any other discussion items? Okay, so motion's been made to approve this contract as is, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed?
Nay.
So 2 for, 2 against. We are missing, we have a vacancy, and then we are missing Counselor Maldonado tonight. So rare feat that ends up in a tie, I get to vote, and I vote to approve the contract as written. So
Congratulations as our new
Congratulations,
city
Eileen.
administrator.
we're excited to get going.
Thank you.
Perfect. As I said earlier, our next steps are going to be thanks, Kevin, in January, we're looking at the agenda for probably our second meeting in January to have a goal-setting session with our new city administrator and lay out some objectives and things. So Eileen, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Councilor Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. In the future, when you negotiate these contracts, could you please keep us up to speed and at least let us see it in advance before the council meeting so that we can provide input, so we don't have to have these discussions in open forum?
Okay. Thank you, sir. Yes.
I concur with that thought, and also just want to extend to Ms. Stein that this was in no way personal. I do welcome you. I'm very happy you're here. It was literally the language in the contract I had an issue with, not yourself.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is a Canby Kiwanis Community Food and Toy Drive proclamation. Yes, Food and Toy Drive, whereas the Kiwanis Canby Community Food and Toy Drive originated for the purpose of providing food, gift cards, and toys for less fortunate families in our community. Whereas by the way of this proclamation, the city of Canby recognizes that greater public awareness and involvement is needed in order for such programs to achieve their highest potential in providing and promoting joy to each household in this community. Whereas Canby community members have undertaken the project of collecting and distributing toys and food gift cards to these needy families during the month of December, and whereas donations of new unwrapped toys can be left at various locations around Canby, and financial donations are needed to purchase gift cards. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hodson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Canby, do hereby proclaim December 10th through December 16th as Kiwanis Canby Community Food and Toy Drive Week, and urge all people of the city of Canby to observe this time by participating in this donation and toy drive, helping to provide assurance that each family may have a twinkle in their eye this holiday season. And it looks like there's a large contingency of the Kiwanis team here, so I'll meet you guys here at the table. Who gets to accept this?
Okay, I'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One of our, I think, well-loved events here in town. And so if you want to take a moment and tell the viewing audience where they can drop off toys and what's next for this adventure.
Redo. Redo.
You can have the time right there, and then we'll take
Shake
it
her
from the
hand
photo.
again. I've got her
You
phone.
didn't catch it in the moment?
I've got her
We'll
phone.
reenact here. You look at Council President Henson there.
There we go. Here you go. You're very welcome.
Well, I don't want to talk very long because I am a horse. Too much talking and coordinating. The people behind me, that were behind me, they're leaving me, have up to this point put in hundreds of hours of work just getting this going. And it's not just them, but they're the ones that came tonight. And I would say collectively between them, the 7 of us, we have put in hundreds of hours. This has gone on the Kiwanis Community Food and Toy Drive for 65 years, and it gets bigger and better, and we had to do some switching with COVID. We didn't get food from the schools like we used to. So we decided to give gift cards for food, and we support our local cuts force. And so the families have loved that because they can buy what they want and what their dietary or cultural restriction, what they want for that. So we'll probably never go back to the food, but if we get food in our barrels, we give it to the Canby Center, and we find a home for it. What's happening right now is we're gathering the toys from our different distribution barrels all around town. There's probably 50 of them out. And we're at the fairgrounds in the 4-H building, sorting the toys into male, female, age appropriate ones. And then we have volunteers come in and get toys together for the individual children. And then we have the Rotary come in and help us do the food bags. And it wouldn't happen without this community. Canby is such a giving community. And every time I have a chance to say something, I want to thank this community. It's not Kiwanis. We started it and we keep it going, but without the help financially from this community, it wouldn't happen. So last year we had 465 families, 1,100 children. And that was the biggest we've probably ever had. And we just don't turn anyone away that feels they need some help. And it's all good. Makes us all in the holiday spirit. So thank you very much.
Well, and as you can see, we will help the cause. So please grab what you can carry.
Well,
It's a good thing that you brought volunteers.
There's a barrel in the library, but it's probably locked. So.
Oh. No, I
Do
got
we have-
plenty at
Here we
home.
go.
You want to stop and
We got a
get
couple
some?
bags you can tote it off in.
Sure. We'll find homes for that food.
Here's another bag for somebody. Here's a bag.
And if need be, I can put mine in the barrel.
If you would.
If you want to.
There was a barrel for the city office, but CJ got hold of me, didn't know where it was. And then I told him he found it, and I said, put it by the library's barrels. You have some bags here.
Oh, thank you, Jordan. More bags.
You guys, here's some bags.
Luckily, I think you're pretty much good on this end.
Okay. Here's another bag. Thank you very much. Let's get out of the way.
Oh, you guys are
Oh,
fine.
you
You're
guys are
fine.
good.
There's no
Yes,
rush.
You're fine.
Thank you very much
Thank
for all
you.
of
Thank
your
you for
work.
all you do.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda this evening is staff introductions, and I think Eileen will take that.
I do have a couple. So Natalia, would you come up to the front here? Natalia is our new office specialist and is part of the finance team. Natalia Arrowfief, thank you. Thank you for that assistance. Joined the City of Canby team as the new office specialist on Monday, November 6th. So she's been with us for about a month now. You have likely seen her smiling face at the front desk in administration department over the last few weeks. Her job duties include greeting customers, routing calls to the appropriate destinations, and serving as the primary resource for utility billing questions. She graduated from Silverton High School, and when she's not working, Natalia loves outdoor activities, the beach, sunshine, spending time with friends and family. Natalia shared she is excited, grateful, and thankful for this opportunity and to be part of a great community and team. So we welcome Natalia, and do you want to say anything?
I think you just about said it all
Okay.
in words, but thank you for the opportunity again, and excited and thankful.
Well, welcome to the Canby team. Appreciate it.
The other thing that I wanted to do was just point out a significant professional accomplishment. So Maya Benham, who serves as our administrative director and city recorder, recently completed her certification to become a certified municipal clerk. That's a big deal in the city recorder world. So Maya joined the city of Canby over 2 years ago as the deputy city recorder and moved into the city recorder role in January of 2023. The CMC designation is comprised of educational programming coupled with pertinent experience within a municipality. In her current role, Maya oversees the city recorder's office, the municipal court, and risk management functions. So we just celebrate her getting her CMC and her being allowed to add that to her list of accomplishments and her name. So,
All right.
so
Congratulations,
congratulations, Maya.
Good job.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, perfect. Next on the agenda is an opportunity for citizen input and community announcements. So it's an opportunity to address the council on non-agenda items or make community announcements. And Maya, do we have anyone online?
Yes, we do, Mayor. We have some folks here from ODOT, and I'm probably going to butcher their last names, but Robert DeVassi, I believe Robert Chavon, Paul Scarlett, and Jamie Miller. And they're going to provide a presentation when it's the right time that you would like. They've had a noise variance request, expecting to do ongoing night work between December 2023 and November 2024, between 99 East, between Berg Parkway and Pine Street. And this has gone before you before in the past, so we're basically just, change of dates.
Okay,
So,
perfect. Great, we will get to them momentarily, but nobody for public comment?
no.
Okay. And I don't have any yellow cards, so unless somebody wants to grab one, fill it out, seeing no takers, all right? We will move into our public hearing. And so the first one is, as Maya explained, a noise variance request from the Oregon Department of Transportation, expected to be up to 24 weeks of night work between December 2023 and November of 2024. And so I will read my snippet here. The matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. This public hearing was noticed, and those who wish to speak were instructed to contact the deputy city recorder. We did not receive any requests to speak at this time. Those people that are interested in testifying as to either proponents or opponents to the noise variance, please indicate your desire to speak by raising your hands at this time. Thank you. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. All questions must be directed through the mayor. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during staff report. The public hearing will be conducted as follows. We will have a staff report presentation by ODOT, questions, if any, by the hearing body. Then I will open public hearing for testimony. Proponents, I will give not more than 3 minutes each, and opponents not more than 3 minutes each. I will then close the public hearing, and then if there are any additional questions by the hearing body, and then discussion. A decision shall be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of that date you will receive. Does anyone have any questions about the procedure of the hearing? Okay, seeing none. Maya, we want to dial up our friends at ODOT.
And Paul, I went ahead and pulled up the presentation. Did you want to go ahead and walk through it?
Yes, thank you for doing that. First, my name is Paul Scarlett. I'm with Oregon Department of Transportation. I'll be presenting a short noise variance presentation along with Robert Giovanni, excuse me, our air quality and noise specialist. And so we'll walk through the slides, but first, good evening to Mayor Hodson and City councilors. Thank you for the opportunity to share some information about noise variance for the Canby OR 99 paving project. The project covers the area between the railroad crossing in Southwest Berg, and the Southwest Berg portion to Pine is really the area we're focused on. The railroad crossing area was completed over the summer. The project covers mostly paving, but it also includes traffic improvements with new detectors. We're going to be constructing a number of sidewalks. And you just advance the slide would be great. Other improvements will include updating striping. We have striping in areas that aren't consistent, and so by providing a similar width, entire width of the length of the area, then it'll make it safer for drivers. We'll also be including or building bike lanes and doing a number of, it says 70 sidewalk curb ramps. That work is critically important to accommodate all users of the intersections and facilities. Other improvements in this project will include removing the unused railroad tracks and realignment of the tracks in the area to the north. We did do that over the July 4th weekend, so that work is completed. We are also partnering with the Canby area transit on some transit bus stops, shelters. That'll be done between now and this summer of next year. And one of the biggest item in this project is we're replacing cracked on-the-ground stormwater pipe. This was something that was discovered in the early winter of this year, once the contract and the work started, it started back in about a year ago, November of 2022. And shortly after that, we discovered pipe that was in pretty bad shape. Didn't know the extent of it. During design, we thought it was good, but as things were uncovered during construction, we realized how the extent of the deterioration. So we had to halt the project and redesign. And I think there's more information on the next slide. Talks about the timeline. So work such as of describing is happening now. We're replacing the pipe. We added additional funds to take care of that work that was not part of the scope of the project. The contractor K&E is doing a great job in coordination with our construction office that's managed, the project's managed by Jamie Miller. She's listening on the call, and the work has been going great. And the work such as ADA ramp, sidewalk, pedestrian refuge, and upgrade of traffic signals, we're able to, and we'll be able to do a lot of that work now until the paving window opens up next summer. I think most of the construction, one of the reasons we're here, of course, is the discovery of the stormwater pipe required the project to be put on hold, and we had to redesign with assistance of consultant PBS. And that timeline required, of course, by default, the project to go longer than was anticipated. We were hoping to have completed the project around this time, but because of the added time, it won't be until a year from now, maybe into spring of 2025. So there will be around the clock single lane closures in one or both lane directions. We'll have periodic flagging, temporary pedestrian access paths, or accessible detour routes will be in play. Bus access open during business hours. And you know, work, because the work is happening from location to location, it's temporary, and noise ordinance is required to cover that work. I'll turn it over to Robert, who will cover the noise section of this presentation. Robert, go ahead, if you're there.
I think we're working on letting Robert in.
Oh, okay. Robert, I can't hear you. He just sent me a message.
He's getting there.
Yeah, I'll let him know.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so basically, nothing has really changed in terms of the actual noise effects that's going to happen. You're going to be having about, at 50 feet, you're going to be having about 90 dBA, max 87 dBA in terms of LEQ, which is your equivalent sound levels for an hour. And then it goes down 6 dB each time. Go to the next one. This will get a better idea on what it is. So this gives you a kind of a better idea on the actual loudness about what that would actually sound like to the people that are there. So 90 dBA is going to be a food blender at about 1 meter. Now here's the thing. The nearest resident, if I'm not mistaken, was at about 100 feet. So they're going to be hearing somewhere around the sound of basically between like someone shouting at a garbage disposal, but it's also going to be mobile. So it's going to be moving in terms of the paving. And yeah, the noises really hasn't changed that much. It's going to be loud, but it's also going to be temporary, and it's going to be moving along, except for the piping. Paul, if I'm not mistaken, the pipe will be in stationary in a set place for a while.
We're rerouting the pipe and improving it in areas where it's deteriorated. So certainly working segments. Jamie might be able to better answer that question, but that's the plan.
Yeah. So in terms of the paving stuff, that's one of the advantages of the very loud noises of paving is that it's mobile. So you won't have anything very loud in one specific area for a long period of time. Now the pipe is going to be a slightly different can of worms, simply because there'll be areas where they'll have to do the work on the pipe and then move to the next area.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, the closest, there it is. The piping will be mobile, but a week or so at a location as they move down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the piping will also be mobile too. They'll do the piping in one area and move, and so on as it goes down.
Okay.
Any question about the noise effects?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thanks, Robert. Real quick, we've certainly been
Sorry.
we've had very
Paul.
extensive.
Sorry to interrupt. One of the city councilors does have a question.
Oh, excuse me. Yes.
Sure.
Well, the question is my question is, has there been any complaints about the noise so far?
The person, the public affairs person isn't on, but I could take and ask if anything's happened. And if you just send me a chat real quick, I'll go get the information from her, and then I will take and send that information to you. As far as I know, I haven't heard anything, but I'm not the person that's going to be listening. So,
Eileen or Maya, have we had?
I haven't heard that we've had any complaints but I can certainly send a message to Robert.
Yeah, just send me
Double check.
send me an email and I'll go hook up with the. Oh, okay. So Jamie says no complaints. The construction office hasn't heard anything. I'll talk to community affairs and see if they've heard anything because they're the ones who usually compile all the complaints. But if you send me an email or send me something out in the chat, I'll take care of that and I will make sure to email you tomorrow.
Okay, great. So it doesn't sound like there's been anything yet.
Okay. I just think that those who are next to it are the ones that are be the most affected. I don't feel like
Sure.
I would
Usually the
be
case.
good to judge it because I don't live next to
Yeah,
it.
I don't either. So, okay. Great. Thanks, Robert. Go ahead,
Yep.
Paul.
Thank you. I'll wrap up real quick. I was saying we've had pretty extensive community involvement. We've notified a lot of folks. And back in 2020, before the project even started, we sent survey out to over 4,000 households asking for feedback on safety. We've used that feedback in the design of the project. We mailed notices of this hearing tonight to household within 200 feet. We've communicated in bilingual about the construction notices and project updates, including the 24/7 nighttime noise hotline. Also communicate on social media. And for folks who want to know more about the project or keep touch, you can sign up on our email update for email updates. And that and also can sign on to our tripcheck.com platform for real-time traffic impact information. I will also say that I'd be remiss if I didn't say we've had really good working relationship and partnership with the city of Canby. Larry Nilsson, we've worked with him during the design, and we've had a number of work sessions where we work out details. I know over the summer we had a number of interactions or communications with the fire chief about the railroad removal and repair work and making sure emergency vehicles could get through there. So we appreciate the partnership. We are excited to get this work restarted. Unfortunately, we discovered this pipe, but we certainly wouldn't want to build over it and have to come back and dig up new pavement. That would be costly and ineffective. But the extension of timeline is required, and we'll do our best to, of course, improve this corridor in this area to make it more safe and, of course, more user-friendly for all users of this area. So appreciate the partnership, appreciate the support. And Caitlin Jackson is one of our contact person. Robert mentioned her name. She's our community affairs coordinator. She's great about communicating and responding to any questions that comes up along with other staff. And Robert DeVassi, I know I mentioned his name. He normally would have been here tonight. He's celebrating his son's birthday, so thought that was a good thing, and appreciate the time. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks, Paul. I do have a couple maybe up here. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation tonight. Just a few things. When you're doing the work outside of Walgreens, the cars couldn't access Walgreens for just about a full day. And so people were parking in the Safeway's parking lot and then trying to get across 99, almost getting hit by cars. As an awareness point, I hope that you can pay attention to that you're not blocking businesses, and especially Walgreens that is super busy now that our Rite Aid is closed down.
Okay.
It's very busy, but there was a full day there where cars couldn't even get into the Walgreens parking lot. The second part is if we could have improved communications when you're going to prohibit left-hand turns and you're going down to single lane, the fire trucks cannot get down 99. And then when they get to a point where they think they can turn left, they can't. And so it's delaying our response. So the firefighters are finding alternative routes to try to get around that construction because it's down to single lane and traffic is terrible and there's no place for cars to go when it's down to the single lane. So it is causing a significant delay on our fire apparatus by trying to figure out alternative routes. And it's not fair to the cars to try to figure out a different way to go, hearing sirens coming down on top of them. So if you could maybe communicate when you're going to start shutting down left-hand turn lanes onto Elm and some of the other streets, would be appreciated.
Okay, we'll communicate that back to our construction and community affairs office.
Councilor Patton.
I want to thank you for the presentation tonight, and I also want to thank you for continuing the work with the stormwater over the winter. I have been very vocal about my agitation in the constant shifting of this project and the moving of the goalposts for when it's going to be done. And having some actual work going on out there right now is helping throw the community off the scent, and I appreciate that. I'm hoping that this sticks to the 2024 timeline. And I just want to point out that while I appreciate you folks coming here and doing this presentation tonight, oftentimes it is not your folks that hear the complaints about 99E. The community's understanding is that 99E is our responsibility, and so then it is us as a council, and it is city staff, including Jerry Nelzine, our public works director, that ends up fielding a lot of that heat. So I really want to see this project done and a bow put on it by the end of next year. Thank you.
We're with you.
Any other questions? Councilor Patton, an additional comment?
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Public hearing, yeah.
Yeah, we're.
Oh, it's a public hearing.
still
See,
in
I'm
public
ready to
hearing.
go. Let's get this paved,
Yeah,
people. Let's
so,
do this.
Yeah, we're in a, yeah.
Noise, take the
Just for having,
noise.
so this is a question period of the public hearing. I appreciate your.
I forgot about
I
that.
appreciate your eagerness. Thank you, Council President Hensley, for gently reminding Councilor Patton where we're at.
As the former chair of the planning commission, I should have remembered. Bad.
Paul, I appreciate, again, you guys coming this evening to do this, and, yeah, it's more of an update, obviously, because we were ready for this all to happen a year and a half ago, and we have the situation that we had, and I was at the Region 1 ACT meeting on Monday, and Mr. Winsheimer was very quick to, hat in hand, be very, apologetic about the delays, and and I know that some things had to shift around to get this pipe project as part of it fixed and going. So I do appreciate ODOT's help in getting 99E back to snuff. So thank you for that. Any other questions for the ODOT team? Okay. Gentlemen, thank you. Seeing no more questions, I will open up the public hearing for testimony. I don't have any proponents for this. Are there any opponents to this noise variance? I'm not seeing any. I will quickly close the public hearing. Any other questions or at all from staff or from council? Pardon me. Discussion? Okay, I will take a motion now, Councilor Patton.
Mr. Mayor, I move to grant a noise variance to ODOT for night work along 99E between Berg Parkway and Pine Street from December of 2023 through November of 2024.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Patton and seconded by Councilor Davis to grant the noise variance to ODOT for night work on Oregon 99E between Berg Parkway and Pine Street from December 2023 through November 2024. Just a second. Okay.
Is there somebody who wants to make a comment? Is there no comment cards back there on this thingy?
Not on this, but this gentleman missed public testimony.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
But it's not on the ODOT stuff, Mayor, so.
oh, okay,
Oh, okay.
perfect.
Okay.
No, thank you. Okay, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the noise variance?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes 4-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you have your noise variance. Construct away.
Thank you for your approval and support. Appreciate it, and partnership.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very
Robert.
much.
Right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Next on our agenda is a second noise variance hearing. It's for Canby Pioneer Chapel of Performing Arts. They're expecting to have amplified music played during a New Year's Eve event from 8:30 p.m. on Sunday, December 31st.
It's a typo, it's Saturday.
Is it Saturday?
Well, the motion says Saturday into Sunday. This says Sunday into Sunday. Do we need to look at the calendar? What day is it?
Christmas is on a Monday.
So
New Year's Day is on a Monday.
So it's Sunday into Monday.
Right, that's what it says
So it's a
here.
typo on the motion and on the, because it says Sunday into Sunday and the motion says Saturday to Sunday. So what they're asking for is a Sunday from 8:30 to Monday at 12:30.
Correct, so if I could finish reading what's here, it's a New
Incorrectly
Year's
written.
event from 8:30 p.m. on Sunday, December 31st, 2023 through Monday, January 1st, 2024.
Yeah, it says Sunday though, but that's okay.
It is a Sunday evening event.
It says Sunday the 1st also.
Anyways, okay. The address of the event is 508 Northwest 3rd Avenue in Canby. Any comments or input further, Maya, on this?
We have Trent Beaver, I believe, here, hello, to answer any questions, but I think you covered everything.
Okay. Well, sure. Trent, I'll give you a moment here to give us the rundown. I do get to read my spiel again, that the matter present before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. This public hearing was noticed, and those who wish to speak were instructed to contact the deputy city recorder. And at this time, we have not received any requests to speak on this. Those people that are interested in testifying in as either proponents or opponents to this noise variance, please indicate your desire to speak by raising your hands at this time. Okay, you're good. I'll get you, yep, thanks, Trent. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. All questions must be directed through the mayor. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. The public hearing will be conducted as follows. We'll have a staff report, questions of anybody in the hearing body. I will open up the public hearing for testimony. Open up for testimony, proponents, not more than 3 minutes, opponents, not more than 3 minutes. I will then close the public hearing. Any additional questions by the hearing body, and then discussion by the hearing body. A decision shall be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of that date you will receive. Any questions on the public hearing at this time? No? Okay. I think we pretty much covered the staff report in the title. Trent, would you like to come up and we'll open up the public hearing for us and turn it over to you, sir.
Right on. Well, Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you for having me out. I have a company called Dust Bowl Records. I'm a local musician around here for a long time, and we wanted a place to do a New Year's Eve party, celebrate a lot of stuff that's happened for us this year, including our appearance on CMT this year. So kind of wanted to give back to the community around here for supporting us for so many years. So that's why we're having this concert here in Canby. The Canby Chapel offered the place to us. So went through the channels and now we're sitting here. So
Okay.
yeah.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Beaver? Yes, Mr. Stearns.
Up until this summer, I used to live right next to the Canby Chapel, and they had lots of events there. And most of them were fine and okay, but every once in a while, there was that point where you were listening to the concert inside the house with the doors closed without any problem at all. So I'm wondering how loud the music will be, because having lived there and experienced it, I just wanted to just bring that up, that sometimes, and we would just sit there and endure it till it was over with, and, you know, not most of the times not, but sometimes.
Well, we're country music, so we're not full-blown rock band. You know, we're not gonna push things to the limit to where the shingles are falling off the building at all. But the main music for the evening is gonna be held actually inside the chapel. But our food and our outside bar is gonna be in the tented area that's in their event space outside. We are gonna have a little bit of music there. We're not gonna blow like I said, blow the shingles off. We just wanted to create an environment for people to celebrate the new year and bring it in. So.
Okay, I just wanted to say maybe send somebody out a block or two away, and if you can still hear it clear, maybe that means that's time to tune it down a little bit.
Yeah. We'll send somebody that's not a musician so they can actually hear.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, there's been a little reduction in hearing. Yes, I'm with you on that.
Why is it loud? We can't hear it.
Yeah,
No.
can't hear it. Yes, Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question isn't actually for Mr. Beaver, it's for staff. I see that there was a list of addresses a notice went out to. Did anybody respond to that with any complaints or concerns? Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for being here this evening to explain what was going on, and congratulations on appearance on CMT. That's great.
Appreciate it.
So I will, so Trent Beaver, what is the name of your band?
Trent Beaver and the Damage.
And the Damage.
Trent Beaver and the Damage on your local country channel. All right, perfect. I know what I'll be listening to at work tomorrow, checking it out. Okay, great. So we don't have anybody, so I'll open up a public hearing. Any proponents against this? Not having any, no one's dialed in. Any opponents to this? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Any other questions,
No.
discussion?
Can I make a motion?
Do you have a question?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, discussion, go for it.
I would love it if you didn't blow the shingles off of it, because it's one of the few historic buildings we have in town. So we want to keep
did a
that there.
walkthrough,
That
so-
chimney, I'm amazed it's still even on the building. So if we can keep that up, that'd be great too.
I took the sound guy in specifically to show him that this is a very delicate building. so-
Perfect.
Just like golf, you gotta replace the divots, you gotta replace the shingles.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I will say that, I mean, again, the whole intent of having that building almost like all remodeled on the inside was to be able to hold live music events, and there's been a number of them held there. So I think it's a great venue. The acoustics are really good. And so I trust that you guys won't blow any shingles off the place, and the foundation will remain intact. So that's great.
That's the plan.
All right, good. Did you want to make a motion?
I
Council President
do,
Hensley?
and I will not read it as presented because it's got the wrong days. I move to grant a noise variance to the Canby Pioneer Chapel of the Performing Arts to allow for amplified music on Sunday, December 31st, starting at 8 p.m. and going through Monday, January 1st at 12:30 a.m.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Padden to grant the noise variance to the Canby Pioneer Chapel of the Performing Arts to allow for amplified music on Sunday, December 31st, starting at 8 p.m. and going through Monday, January 1st at 12:30 a.m. Any other discussion or comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that passes 4-0. Have a great time, and it would be a
Yes,
fun
thank
way to
you.
bring in the new year, sir.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks,
Mr.
Trent.
Mayor,
Thank you.
Councilors.
Sorry, is it Trasher? Traxel. I got your card. Nope, that's totally okay. Just, I wanted to let you know that we'll have another opportunity here for public testimony or comment coming up as we get closer to the end of the meeting. So I will call you up. Nope, that's okay. I'll call you up when that occurs, okay? Thanks.
Be pretty quick, actually, I think.
Moving into the consent agenda,
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda that includes the reappointment of member Jennifer Driscoll to the Planning Commission with a term ending December 30th, 2026, the reappointment of member Matt Ellison to the Planning Commission with a term ending December 30th, 2026, the minutes of the October 18th, 2023 joint work session and regular city council meeting, and the minutes of the November 1st, 2023 work session and regular city council meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Patton to approve the consent agenda, which include the reappointment of member Jennifer Driscoll to the Planning Commission with a term ending December 30th, 2026, the reappointment of member Matt Ellison to the Planning Commission with a term ending December 30th, 2026, the minutes of the October 18th, 2023 joint work session and regular city council meeting, and the minutes of the November 1st, 2023 work session and regular city council meeting. Any discussion?
Not really, just a comment. This was something that I've been kind of asking about quite a bit lately, and I just wanted to thank Maya for anything and everything that she's done to get these caught up. It sounds like next meeting will actually be all the way caught up, so yay. I'm very glad to see this happen, so thank you for all of that.
Great. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 4-0. Next up is resolutions. We have one this evening, resolution number 1399, a resolution adopting a specific policy for system development charge calculations in connection with commercial to residential connections as required by House Bill 2984. Good evening, Don.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you, this will be fairly short, hopefully. I just will give a summary there's a House bill that 2984 that the state legislature adopted. That is to allow for conversion of commercial buildings to residential permissibly. There is a caveat in the House bill that talks about the specifics of looking at our way of collecting system development charges for those conversions, but we have to do it in a timely fashion before the end of the year, December 31st, 2023, and we have to do it by resolution. David provided a resolution for this, and that's included in your packet. We're seeking your support for this. That would give us the ability to continue to collect system development charges in this situation based on the House bill that was provided by the state legislature. Glad to answer questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions on this particular resolution or what we're attempting to do? Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Stearns.
I'm sorry, what exactly are we?
So let me
Explain a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is high level. So when we go through a development review process, system development charges are collected for everything, including traffic, storm drainage. We look at parks collections. There's park impact fees. Those are all collected to pay for the city's operational elements, to continue to maintain systems in the city and to pay for new infrastructure as well. So each development that goes through has a formulaic basis for that, which is the standard industrial classification code. And there's a formula for what those are. So for a conversion from one use to another, we're looking at those. Sometimes the conversion doesn't really materially increase the level for an existing business. For a brand new business, absolutely, we'll charge everything, that 100%. The conversions have to be looked at based on what's there previously and what the delta is and the increase for that. But this would just give us the opportunity to have that ability to continue to collect those fees. Those are quite essential for the city to operate. It's one of the few major sources of revenue that the city has for capital projects.
Okay. So let me just say back in my limited understanding. So when you build something, you have a lot of development fees. They go for the various things. And so what we're trying to approve tonight is is a development
So-
list of charges for conversion from commercial to
So that,
residential?
the House bill essentially means that if there's no action taken by the city, if there's a conversion of a commercial building to residential, we cannot, as a city, collect any system development charges if we wait until the new year.
Okay, so right now we're saying we want to have a charge for
That
commercial.
they've allowed us to do this by resolution. It's kind of a weird out. Usually the state legislature doesn't give you those outs, but they're kind of giving it an out to say, we're going to mandate that you have to allow residential within commercial buildings as an outright use, but we're going to give you the ability to charge system development charges, but you have to implement that through your system development charge. You have to make a resolution to be able to collect the system development fee. Or if you don't do the resolution, then if you do a conversion from commercial to residential, we cannot collect any system development charges, period, for that after the fact.
Okay, so we're just saying what we're going to be allowed to. So we're saying, yes, we will charge a fee, but we're not saying what that fee is or at this point.
The fee is already based on our code, so this is not artificial. We have it, so we would go to our tables and say, what is a multifamily residential, which would likely be what that would be in commercial. It would not be one house, it'd probably be several with it. If you went in and took a commercial building and parceled it out into rooms, then we would charge accordingly per that formula.
So right now, there's I think a church that's being converted into apartments.
The Manzanita Church, yeah, they're paying a fee as well.
And so they're
Yeah.
paying. So right, our vote, say yes, says things will go on the way they have been.
They will, and the church is kind of
We're not
interesting.
changing anything.
Yeah.
We're just making sure that
So-
we're not changing anything.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Councilor Stearns, the state has said in its desire to create more housing opportunities, it's anticipating that perhaps commercial properties will convert to residential. And so if a resolution is not adopted by the end of this fiscal year, or this calendar year, excuse me, the state is saying that cities are prohibited from imposing SDCs, which has been our primary source of funding capital projects. And so, in this state legislation that enacted this, it is saying that you basically have an out. If you adopt a resolution by the end of the year, you have an out from the new condition of not being able to charge SDCs for a conversion. So we, in order to preserve our ability to enact SDCs, we need to adopt this resolution by the end of the year. I don't know if I'm helped or made,
Well, thank you. I think
made you more
it's clear
confusing.
now. I just always like to know, we vote on something, what exactly we are voting for, what the need is. And so we're just saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, that this vote is to just preserve the way that things have been
Exactly.
doing. So the state said, you have to preserve the way or you can't anymore. sort of like.
Exactly.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Hardy? Okay. Yes, Counselor Patton.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, I believe you can.
Okay. I move to adopt resolution number 1399, a resolution adopting a special policy for system development charges or charge calculations in connection with commercial to residential conversions as required by House Bill 2984.
Motion has been made by Counselor Patton and seconded by Counselor Davis to approve resolution number 1399, a resolution adopting a specific policy for system development charge calculations in connection with commercial to residential conversions as required by House Bill 2984. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 4-0. Thank you, Don. Okay, Next on the agenda is old business. So the city attorney recruitment. Ms. Stein.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So what you have here in your packet is um, a survey that Kevin conducted. If I will point you to page 2 of that, or page 87, I guess it would be. The top part of this graphic shows that the positions, or the other cities in the neighborhood, so to speak, that have in-house city attorneys, and their average annual salary, base salary, and benefits for a total salary. The bottom half of this survey shows you, for those cities that had a contract city attorney, what they pay their city attorney firm by an hourly rate. I use this information to be able to then show what the in-house costs would be if we, or the in-house costs would be or have been for the city of Canby. So this information is taken from the most recently employed city attorney, annual rate and hourly rate, and then the Canby contract by Barry Elsner and Hammond charges for August, September, and October. And then we did receive an estimate of November's bill, which is going to be about $11,742. So as I suspected, as we use David's firm more and more, the costs are going to go up. So we have billed, or Barry Elsner and Hammond has billed 97 hours so far. 27,000 has been what they have billed to date. The hourly rate is the rate of the most senior attorney on the contract. Some attorneys are charged at a lesser hourly rate than has been than is shown here. So if you just took the average billing, which was just based on those 3 August, September, and October, the average billing is $91.35. If you projected that times 12, it shows that the city attorney would cost $109, which is significantly less than the cost for an in-house counsel or in-house counsel. But I know that as is shown in the November billing, the cost for the city attorney is going to go up. So, so if you took 285, the top rate for Barry Elsner and Hammond, and multiplied that out by 2080 hours, then the comparison is 592 versus 208. So in that regard, it looks much more expensive to go with outside counsel. So this is really a report back because the information was asked for. I would recommend that we continue with Barry Elsner and Hammond's contract, but also that you give the authority for us to begin recruiting for an in-house city attorney. I think it's going to take some time to find the right person. It took the city of Tualatin 18 months to find the right city attorney. And so my recommendation at this moment in time is to continue with Barry Elsner and Hammond, but to begin the recruitment process for an in-house city attorney.
Yes, Councilor
And these
Davis.
numbers are just designed to help you in your decision-making process. And if you want us to look at some other aspect of this, we're happy to do that as well.
Thank you, Eileen. Question I have is on the cost of the city attorney, there's $11,000 in here for PERS, but I'm not seeing the medical and the other roll-ups. Are those in there? Gives the total roll-ups of what the total cost is.
Isn't that on page 91 of the packet? It says benefits 23,005 or $53? Or is
Seems
that?
awful low for total roll-ups as far as
So,
medical and stuff.
yeah, the benefits is, that would be medical as well. Yeah, Kevin, if you want to.
Yeah, so on the other spreadsheet, so I listed out the least expensive option, so that would include employee-only coverage, and then the most expensive, which includes family coverage. For family coverage, it's a total of $27,930, and then there's a mandatory coverage, which is long-term disability, basic life insurance that the city pays for as well. That's $442 per year. So then total cost of the salary plus the fringe benefits came out to $213,544 for the most expensive package.
Okay, thank you. That clears that up.
Does that seem more online with kind of what?
It's close.
Okay.
Yeah, in regards to the roll-ups. And I assume that when we're looking at the city attorney, we're looking at 40 hours a week that the person's working? Okay, and
Because
do we have an estimate of that 40 hours, how much time would be spent as a city attorney? In other words, how much time does planning need of a city attorney? How much time does police department need of a city attorney? I mean, I can't imagine that the city attorney is going to be here doing nothing but city attorney business. In other words, the people who, the departments that access it would, I assume, be the police department, the planning department, yourself, any contracts and stuff. But I'm more interested in how many hours is that estimated from each department on the need of the city attorney versus, because it could be too that remembering that the contract attorney firm that we're currently using, we've been using a lot on just employment issues in the last 3 months, whether it's executive sessions and council business. So how much of that $9,000 per month or the billing has been actually used by the city council and city administrator versus planning department, police department? So I would like to see more data in regards to, from those departments, their estimates of the need for a city attorney versus contract, and then apply that under contract.
Okay.
You know, so more data, I think, is needed to
Sure.
actually get that from the divisions.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways to get at that. One is, to just ask the departments to each identify how much support they enjoyed by the previous city attorney. The other way to look at it is to just look at Barry Elsner's billings and break that down by department, that they've supported. So,
Right, right. And where divisions can, or where the departments can actually cut down on the need for the city attorney? Do they really need to contact the city attorney on things that maybe they can answer themselves?
And
Because
we've been doing some of that. I've been asking the departments to be kind of holding back a little bit. But by the same token, I've asked them to kind of go ahead and use the city attorney so that we are getting a better sense of what our legal needs are.
right. Well, based on the information I have today, I would support staying with Barry Elsner until we go through this budget season, to actually see how we're doing within the budget as we get into the budget, because we're getting very close to getting into the budget process and
Sure.
give you the opportunity to look at the budget. Because based upon what we received from Eric, last month, it's very bleak in regards to putting on too many positions. And so then it would force the council to have to prioritize those positions, and I'd hate to start a recruitment process and have to stop it when we're realizing that we're in a budget deficit.
Good point. You talked to Eileen, and I will propose to the council as well, about not only just the data piece by department, but also, I'd be curious, if it's okay by council to have staff look into, the cities that do use, contracted, like get like a monthly hour breakdown from those cities. So, Gladstone, Newburgh, Happy Valley, like how many hours they're actually using the city, their contracted firm with, to give us a better idea, because obviously,
We have the hourly rate, but not how many times
Right.
they've used it, yeah.
I mean, the likelihood that we're gonna use, Barry Elsner and Hammond 2,080 hours a year, it's gonna fluctuate. We're talking 40 hours a week. I think we're running 40 hours
30 hours a month.
a month, right? So what does that turn into? And, so I'd be curious in that information, like what are they running on a monthly average? So that way, that might give us another piece to that puzzle that you were talking about, Counselor Davis.
Happy to.
Yep, hang on. Mr. Doofman, good evening. How are you?
Hey, I'm well. Thank
Good.
you.
You have your hand up, sir. Go ahead.
I do. Yeah, I just on that point, Mayor, for what it's worth, Gladstone on a monthly basis, as part of the city council's consent agenda, they've been doing this for a while. I don't remember the sort of the genesis of it, but they have, I think, kind of what you're looking for in terms of the cost, the monthly cost broken out by basically like subject matter, real estate or land use or employment, and that goes back, well, I would say at least 5 years. So that's one community that I'm aware of where that data would be pretty easy to find.
Okay.
Great.
No, appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Doofman. Counselor Patton.
She was next. Oh, Councilor Hensley.
Council President Henley.
Thank you. I just kind of echo Counselor Davis's points in wanting to know the breakdown by department, because the data that we have here says 97.35 hours in 3 months' time so far, and that's roughly 30-ish some odd hours per month, not 40 hours a week. And I know that the previous attorney was a hyphenated position. He was tasked with risk management and other HR facilitation things, as well as being involved in many other departments of the organization. So we know for a fact that 40 hours a week were spent on attorney business then. So I want to know exactly how much time is being spent on attorney business, because I also feel like, likewise with Counselor Davis, that we should wait until the budget cycle, because if we're going to have to be in a position of finding a way to cut costs and maybe perhaps having to eliminate positions at some point down in the future, I don't feel in good conscience recruiting somebody at this point in juncture without a better picture of the coming budget for next year. So yeah, I know that we didn't spend 40 hours a week on attorney services before, so I want to know what it is for sure.
Can do that.
Counselor Patton.
So, a couple of things. One, this data does not surprise me. I don't need more data to know that we are not utilizing this current contract as much as the city needs. I know for a fact, and no data will convince me otherwise, that there are questions that the city has legally that are not being answered. The city has a propensity of getting itself in trouble. I've watched it over the last several years. And I can tell you right now that 1 or 2 lawsuits of misstep because we're worried to contact Mr. Doofman or somebody about a simple question will more than eat up any cost savings that we will have in insurance premium increase and payout for damages. So that's first thing. Second thing is the city has historically had a city attorney. Before our previous city attorney had a hyphenated position, the city attorney was full-time, and the city was much smaller back then. So I dare say we could call up John Kelly and ask him, was he lounging around eating bonbons and sipping mimosas in his office? I doubt it. He was doing work. So I think I will also mention that months ago, it was the understanding, I was under the understanding that we were going to move forward with a process of phasing in the investigation of a city attorney. And so that is why I agreed to go with the process that we had originally set forth. And now members of the council have moved that goalpost. So I'm personally agitated about that, but that's my sticking point. And then, what was it? Now I'm so keyed up that I've forgotten what else I was going to say. You'll have to come back to me. Oh, no, I think when it comes to the budget, we already have budgeted a full-time city attorney, if memory serves me correctly. That's already in our budget. And so we aren't eating up that money now, or we're using that money essentially to cover this contract. So as far as, needing to save those, yeah, I'm gonna talk about that after we get on with this. So yeah, so I am a proponent of moving forward with the recruitment process to try and find a city attorney, knowing that it could take up to a year or more to do it. The longer we wait, I can almost guarantee you that as the city starts to not hold back on its questions, this possibly $12,000 a month is going to become a reality rather than $9,000. And we're going to start to see that increase. And then when we have paid more for the contract than we would for a full-time person, then we can talk about having to cut people from other departments because we don't have enough money to pay them. That's it.
Okay. Any other? Yes, Councilor Stearns.
First, I just want to question for Councilor Patton is, you're aware of any specific instances where legal counsel has been denied or because?
I can tell you that personally, when I was on council and when I was as chair of the planning commission, I would contact John Kelly semi-regularly to get understandings of what I was and wasn't allowed to do to make sure that I was not putting the city in any sort of legal jeopardy. I have not once contacted Eileen or Mr. Doofman directly because I want to try and save the city as much money as possible. So so I can tell you personally, I utilize the city attorney in those aspects of my work towards the city. I have not done that.
So you felt more free to ask questions of the city
Yes.
attorney before when there was a city attorney than
And
now
that's
that
just,
there isn't one.
And that's just me as a citizen volunteer. And
Okay.
so as city staff or city managers, I am hard pressed to believe that they are not experiencing a similar thing.
Okay. No, I just want to ask the question because if there's something out there that's not being, that's legal questions that aren't being answered. I personally just to kind of give my own personal point of view is, in my world, $280 an hour isn't a big rate for an attorney. Not saying that that's to have anybody raise the rates or anything, but
Don't get any
but I'm
ideas
just
there,
saying,
Mr.
I'm just
Doofman.
offering some perspective on it. That's basically my fees, myself, when I charge people is that. So I don't think that we're being overcharged, in my opinion. And also most times I have a legal question, I ask an attorney because usually the cost pays for itself to have good legal advice, but sometimes that's a skill that's learned about when you contact the attorney, when you don't. But I currently, my office is right next to two other attorneys. And of course I have my legal shield plan is take him out for lunch every so often. But but my main question is always, what is the quality of the service being given? That I think is more important than the cost. The delta on the cost, I think, is going to be insignificant based on the biggest factor is the attorney being utilized, and is the attorney giving good advice, not just good legal advice, but communicating well, because it doesn't do any good to get legal advice that no one understands. So I would say that's my main point, is I don't know that the delta on the cost, I'm not seeing the cost difference being that good. If we have a really good city attorney, I think it's worth it to get a really good city attorney, but if we get a bad city attorney, I think it's much better to stay with, where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And I've seen good attorneys and I've seen bad attorneys.
Yes, Councilor Davis.
Thanks, Mayor. And I appreciate your comments and agree with your comments. I've sat in those chairs many times when we had our own city attorney, and so that led me to a question: how many times can we go back and look at the billing where Joe Lindsay, our city attorney, had to actually call Barry Elsner on a land use issue because that wasn't his specialty, and or in a labor issue because that wasn't his specialty. Whereas Barry Elsner Group has been excellent. We've had access to labor attorneys through them as well as land use attorneys. They've got the specialties in their office that they can answer our questions. Whereas to try to find a city attorney that can do all those things, we're still going to be contacting Barry Elsner in certain occasions because the city attorney that's not their expertise. The other part is fiscal responsibility, in just the fact that we've learned new information from our finance director of the forecast for our finance. And that concerns me because I want to try to keep all the employees that we currently have because we made a commitment to them. But until the city administrator has a chance to work with the department heads and to work out their budgets, I feel it would be remiss on our part to continue with the recruitment until we actually get into the budget process and see how we're doing. And if we can afford it at that point, the city administrator will let us know if we can afford a city attorney at that point.
I agree.
Jason, sorry, Councilor Patton, not to pick necessarily, but in what instances in the last couple of months have you had something that you couldn't get answered by the city administrator or the planning department or?
Well, I don't have questions of the planning folks because I'm not on the planning commission anymore. But as far as things leading up to the process for the interviews, there were little things that, as far as conduct and questions that could be asked and that sort of stuff, that I would have definitely called the in-house city attorney just to run those ideas by them to make sure that I was not stepping in a trap that could compromise the city. In bringing up things at the meetings, obviously I tend to wander a bit and I don't want my wanderings to get the city in trouble. And so in the past, when I was on the planning commission, I would contact Mr. Lindsay and say, hey, this is a thought that I have. I've talked to Don, he's not quite sure. I want to run it by you. Is this going to put the city in jeopardy? And he would then let me know whether it would or not. So it's those sort of things personally that I have curtailed and in hopes of not getting the city in trouble. I will just also mention, and I will make sure that this comes up at each conversation when we have these conversations, as far as, and I don't know the particulars behind why, but we just went through one of our biggest hiring processes, and this is in no way reflecting poorly on, my gosh, Kevin, correct? Yes, okay, it's getting in there. We didn't have legal counsel present at that executive session. And in the past, when we've gone through the city's gone through those hiring things, there's been legal counsel present at that executive session. And to me, that right there shows that there's a hole that's created. So that's why I will continue to advocate for moving this process forward. That's all.
Okay. Council President Hensley.
To that point, I do agree we should have thought about that. I asked the question in that meeting if Mr. Doofman was going to be zooming in, and we were told no. But he certainly could have zoomed into that.
Sure.
So I don't view it as a whole. It was just a misstep in that process.
Okay. So what I think we have here, Eileen, so correct me if I'm wrong, within this conversation is the question of, I think we have three things. One, do we open recruitment? Here at the beginning of the year, begin that process. And then also, do we continue with Barry Elsner and Hammond at the current contract until that process is completed, or we just continue? And then the desire of the council to get some additional data pieces that were brought up. Those are the three things that I see that we need to decide on what we want to give staff direction on. Am I leaving anything out in terms of our conversation this evening? Am I missing anything, Eileen, in terms of what you
No,
and staff need?
what I'm hearing you say is that in terms of the contract that we have already with Barry Elsner and Hammond, by ordinance council, you have already approved up to $149,000, and we've only billed, $27,000. So in terms of the contract authorization, no amendments are needed there to the contract. We've got plenty of room. I heard you say that you wanted to know how many hours of support per department. And for the cities that do contract, how many hours are they looking, are they using their city attorney firms? So we do have some additional information to gather. The last thing that I heard was don't quite have consensus on whether we move forward sooner versus later, and I've heard a little bit of a split opinion on that. Some saying, let's wait until we know better what the financial projections are looking like, and others want to move ahead sooner.
Yeah, I would concur. Yes, Councilor Patton.
I think one other thing you needed to add to that list, Councilor Davis was asking in the past, when we did have an in-house city attorney, how often did they need to reach out to outside counsel to, like, how many billable hours that involved?
Okay.
Yeah, the data points that I had for that was that going back to the cities to find out how much they are actually using their contracted attorneys on a monthly basis. And then the third piece
Departmental
was,
support.
pardon me?
Support by department.
The support by department, thank you, in that regards. Okay. Do we pose a question to council, and Eileen and Mr. Doofman, please weigh in. Do we take off the limitations of access to our contracted attorney and kind of remove that? I don't, for lack of a better term, discomfort or hesitation to reach out to our contracted attorney.
Well,
I mean, that
I'm
would
gonna
give,
start doing it.
I mean,
If
that
you
would
wanna
give
get
us-
actual data, I'm
well,
gonna
that's what
start
I mean. Does that
contacting.
give us a better actual usage of?
You bet, I've made a note.
I mean, because, you brought up, Mr. Kelly, he was the city attorney and he also did court.
Mhm.
And we've broken that out. We now have court, and part of our conversation was having a city attorney that just handles city issues, city business, not city and court.
Oh, we have a prosecutor already.
Right. Yes.
I'm not used to, nor will I go as a city councilor to our contracted city attorney. I would go to the city administrator and ask the city administrator, and I would bet she has, if she doesn't have knowledge of that, then she can go to the city attorney. But as a city councilor or any committee I'm on, I'm not going to contact the attorney. I think that's inappropriate.
That's fine, I'll do that then.
But if the attorney was an employee of the council, which
Yeah, the attorney reports to the council
would
directly.
would that
If-
change that?
No, I'd still go through the city administrator, follow the chain of command.
Counselor Stearns, and then I'll come back to you, Counselor
Okay.
President.
Yeah, thank you.
Although I haven't had the opportunity to reach out to David yet, I think it's imperative that the council realize that the attorney, as my understanding, works for the council. And it is that, although I think for most city stuff, I would go through Eileen first, we should all keep in mind that we have the right and the duty to go over Eileen's head if we feel that it's necessary, because that's a super important part of any client-attorney relationship, and in the business I'm in, that's really, really important ethically, is know who your client is and who you're working for. And so obviously for the day-to-day stuff, of course, I'm gonna go to Eileen because she might know the answer. I will not need to go to the attorney, but to always remember that it's the city council's attorney and not the city administrator's attorney, although we both gonna share it. So, but I think the primary, and David could illuminate that a little bit, how they view their contract and how they view the client, and whether there would ever be a conflict of interest between, you know, representing Eileen and representing the council.
So I can speak to that. That's a very good question, one we get certainly fairly often. The answer, I mean, the technical answer is that, you know, none of you as people or even council members or the city administrator are the client. You're all representatives of the client, and the client being the corporate entity of the city of Canby. And so it's kind of analogous to like you know, what we see with like people that are general counsel to a company. You know, now it is true in Canby's case, just the way that the charter is set up, and this is common. It goes both ways. We've seen it both ways. That you know, the city attorney and the city administrator both report to the council, right? So it's not that I'm under, the office of the city attorney is independent from the office of the city administrator. Both of those have responsibilities independently to the council. That is true. In other communities, the city attorney is under the direction of the city administrator. So it really depends on the charter, but in your case, certainly that's true.
Yes, Council President Esley.
Well, actually, Mr. Doofman kind of touched on what I was going to say, and that was to remind folks what previous administrator or previous attorneys have told us, and that is that they represent the city's best interest. Yes, we hire this individual, but they are representing the city's best interest, and they do not represent us individually in whatsoever. So in the past, I have not gone to the city personal questions about whether or not I'm going to get the city in trouble. That's on me to police myself. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
No, I hear both sides of that piece of it. I mean, and Councilor Patton, and you know, his side of it as well as your comments. I mean, I think it's a comfort level. I think if we are using the city attorney to represent the best interests of the city and making sure that we stay within the bumper guards of what we got to do, and there's a question of that. I mean, I have had, when we had a city attorney, there's a lot of times that he was a quick phone call or sat in a meeting with myself and the city administrator on something. So again, do we have a solid read on what that would look like if, you know, we engaged Mr. Doofman or Barry Elsner and Hammond in that kind of a grander capacity? Yeah, we will definitely see an increase in cost. What does that look like? I don't know. I don't know what our level of engagement would necessarily be with BEH in that regards. Is that additional data that we need? That's all y'all's call. So, and it sounds like it's a mixed bag on what that looks like or would calculate out as. that fair? Am I grasping that situation well?
Yeah, we
Okay.
clearly need more data and
Well, I mean, we can get paralysis from too much data,
But I also
and
think-
so,
I think it's prudent to, as Counselor Davis also mentioned, we should wait until we see what the budget's going to look like. She hasn't even had a chance to look at next year's budget. That process is about to kick off after the holidays. So I just think that we are better serving our taxpaying citizens by continuing with the contract as we have it. We have plenty of room, as she said, and just make certain we are making the best financial decision.
well, and I know there's another piece that you will get to in your, later this evening, so I don't want to steal that thunder. But I think there's a piece that Eileen will share here that I think will help also be able to, or enable us to look at things in that regards as well. So, okay, so it doesn't sound like we have a consensus on doing the recruitment piece, or at least opening it, and going forward with that. Do we want to not waste, but do we want to consider having a timeline laid out in any way, shape, or form, or not? Just
And also-
leave it on a back burner.
I'm in favor of waiting through the budget process and we can find out what the budget looks like before we make the decision to move on with the recruitment.
Council President Hensley?
I concur with that thought and also would like to go back out for a new consultant if we do go forward with recruitment.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Stearns.
As long as Eileen and the city feel confident with the current legal situation, I think we can wait probably the next budget session to figure that out. But I would just want to stress, if for some reason that they don't feel confident either in the quality of the communication, the availability, or the with the attorney that you update that with us as soon as possible, because as I said earlier, the quality of the legal representation is more important, I think, than the exact method that legal representation is delivered.
Anything additional, sir?
You know my opinion.
I do.
I was already given a timetable and it's been thrown out, so it doesn't matter if I put another one out there or not. I don't care.
Okay. So sounds like those data points, we're going to hold on the recruitment process for the time being.
There's one more comment that I want to make on this issue, and I feel like the department directors will kill me if I don't say it, so I'm going to say it. But again, I don't have enough information to be able to provide a basis of this, but there is an amount that is difficult to quantify that relates to the amount of the convenience factor, I'll say. You know, the fact that we don't have a city attorney sitting in our leadership team meetings, that you don't have a city attorney that you can walk down the hall and bounce questions off of. You know, we can give Barry Elsner and Hammond a phone call, and we will, and, you know, I think that's my direction. Well, that is my direction to staff. So, but it's that convenience factor. And the hard part is, you know, we're still pretty far apart here in terms of whether we're over or under the $200,000, you know, mark essentially. But it's that convenience factor that it's really hard to quantify.
I agree with you, Eileen. I mean, it's a huge, intangible to this whole piece. So no, I agree with you on that as well. You know, even for us to be able to just be like,
right,
hey, quick question, you know. So yes, Councilor Patton.
If we're asking for data points, one just popped into my head. Is there any way of going in the Wayback Machine and looking at the hours of, like, the cost of legal counsel when we ousted the city administrator, city administrators ago back in Mr. Adcock.
Oh.
9 or 10.
And how many hours, is there a way of figuring out that? And how many hours that would take?
And why do we need that data point? Are we asking somebody?
Because who knows? I mean, it is a possibility if that is a legal matter that the city could face. And that would be a huge cost undertaking as far as legal counsel for something like that. So I think if we're requesting data points,
Okay,
I think that would be one that, the worst case scenario that we need to consider.
okay. I will see what we might have. Do you recall what year that was?
I'm gonna say like 9 or 10. You were.
It was
out.
20.
It was
I
right
think it was
before me.
2010.
Right before I was appointed.
2010?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were,
It was before, yeah, Ellis was new when I came on.
yeah, it was, yeah, you were, yeah, I remember.
I was
you were
not
at
counsel at the time.
So, yes, Counselor Patton, or, sorry, Stearns.
Okay, I just thank you, Eileen, for bringing what you brought up. And that is my biggest concern, is that if you are feeling the lack or deficient in legal counsel in your meetings and stuff, then I think that would weigh me more heavily towards getting it in person. So, or not in person, but, hiring a city attorney. And that's my biggest concern, is how comfortable and how available the legal service is. And so that itself moves me more towards the hiring somebody. But again, I've seen it where people have their attorneys on speed dial and they can talk to them anytime, and some people are hesitant to do it. And it's probably somewhere in the middle. But if you think that the city is suffering from a lack of having somebody to ask legal questions to, then I think that's
Yeah,
something really
right now, I
important.
think it's a loss of the convenience factor.
More of a convenience, or you
yeah.
still think,
Yeah. But-
the, anything that sort of makes you uncomfortable, and you still contact David if you're like, I'm not sure about this, or.
My direction right now is if department directors have a question, then they should go to David and ask him that question, or Barry Elsner. So,
And have you had any difficulties contacting them, or have the department heads had any difficulties?
I'm not aware. Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so they've been receiving good service.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Counselor Patton.
Do we need a motion to amend the agenda, to reorder the agenda?
Generally speaking, you can,
I request a reorder of the agenda
Are
and
we-
move,
are we done with this topic? And we'll
I
move-
was reading that as done.
Okay, well, I want to make sure
I
everything's,
thought we were
that
too.
we've,
I know where you're going.
we've addressed this thoroughly enough, and staff feels that they've got adequate direction, okay? Then I would say, yes, it sounds like we are done with this issue. What would you like to have done, Counselor Patton?
I would like to move item 14, our next citizen input section, up to now, so that this gentleman can let us know what he's thinking and then can leave, because he's been very patient and we.
I'll second that motion.
Yes. Okay, well, I can absolutely, so we will move item 14 to now. And please, Steve, why don't you come up here to the table?
This is my first council meeting, so I've never been to one, so you have to bear with me.
Well, you got a real interesting one
Hopefully
to
it's
be a
not
part
your
of.
last one. You're welcome
No,
to
I
come
might-
back anytime.
We should serve coffee and donuts when we come down. Gee.
Well, after we get past 10 o'clock is when we serve coffee.
Okay, I just got something that's been driving me crazy. I moved here in September 1990. And I drove out here, I said, gee, they only got one traffic light here. They got a few more now.
Just a couple.
And things don't work like they used to in the old days. The little things don't get taken care of. My topic is leaf season. When the leaves fall down, the people blow them out in the street. The apartment complexes are the worst, because the guy that owns it, he's in California somewhere, and he's not instructing them how to do it. One of them, I called the company up, and I says, don't you people know how to clean up leaves? Well, we give them a low bid, and we blow them in the street so the city can clean them up. The city's got enough leaves to clean up. I mean, the street sweeper could come through there 3 days a week and never get caught up. It's not our, it's the homeowner's responsibility to clean up their mess. If you spend 2 hours working in your yard like I do, and the knothead next door blows his leaves out in the street and the wind blows in, I gotta clean up his mess. Now you're worried about the budget. Let's start finding these people. I don't care how much you charge them, but something's better than nothing. Get somebody's attention on it. It's getting out of control. Go down here to 16th and Manzanita. It looks it looks worse than Waite Park does when all the leaves come down. Those crews have to work weeks just to get all the leaves up. So we need to get that handled. Put a memo out in the Canby Herald, send them in the mail. You're responsible for your leaves. These lawnmower people, the people that do yards for people, they're the worst. I go and say something to them, they either flip you off or say mind your own business. Meanwhile, the leaves are blowing down on my house as we're talking. One guy was working in his yard and he had his yard crew there. And they're blowing them out in the street. And I said, you don't actually pay those people to do your yard, do you? They wouldn't know a leaf from that desk or sitting on there. Some people aren't that bright, but oh, well, I'll talk to them. I said, what are you gonna tell them? I said, you're paying them. Don't you think you should get the full meal deal and clean them up? I've seen leaf piles as high as your desk. And they wait till the wind blows and they all blows down to Kingdom Come and goes to we got a lot of older people living there and they don't have they're afraid to say something. Well, I'm 75 years old. I got arthritis in both my knees and ankles and I have to go do my own yard. You gotta have the right equipment. You gotta have a vacuum, not one of those stupid blowers that blows it all over the county. Clean them up and be done with it. It can't be that hard to figure out.
Steve,
And
I totally
why don't
agree
you
with
give why don't they have a business license, these lawn service people? They don't have it. They get away with murder. Nobody says anything. The police drive through the neighborhood. They should cite them on the spot. You got a code enforcement gal if you can find her to do something. But the little things don't work anymore. And for us who comply with everything, we get the shaft and we don't get nothing accomplished. We pay for fees for this, fees for that, but I don't see nothing getting done. It can't be that hard to work on the little things. You see what I mean? I'm sure all you people live in houses and do your own yard work. So you come home and the leaves are out in the street or on your yard because the idiot next door blew them in the street. How stupid is that? It's getting out of control. We need to put the hammer down.
Steve,
The ordinances are outdated in this state.
Preaching to the choir.
They're just outdated.
I agree with you, Steve. This is something I bring up every fall to remind people not to blow them into the street because it triples our public
The
works.
drains are plugged.
Yep.
It's a cluster.
It is.
I'm surprised all these people that work for the city can keep up with all this stuff.
Yeah, see, I don't do leaf raking. I have 2 teenage boys and I make them do it.
Try it sometime.
Oh, no, I did it for lots of years. And so I figured I've earned the right to have my children experience
Share the joy.
that work. And I did have them make the poor decision to put them in the street this year, and I made them rake them back into our yard.
That's the easy way to do it.
I did, and they were not happy, but.
They give them a better, these people own these apartment complexes. They don't live in the town. They live in California. They don't have a clue what the hell's going on.
You're right.
You see, so we have to deal with it.
Well, you've been talking with our public works director this evening, Jerry.
I didn't know that's who he was.
Yeah,
but they
now
do.
you know.
The city does a great job on keeping up with the leaves.
They do.
They could order 10 more sweepers and they still couldn't keep up with it. It just, you get it all cleaned up when they start doing it again. Every year it gets worse. 30 years ago, they didn't have all these big trees because they weren't big enough to do anything. But now it's terrible, absolutely terrible.
Well,
how much it costs you to keep up Waite Park every year? They got good, heavy stuff to do it.
They do.
You see, these idiots that run these blowers, it's just pathetic.
So
Absolutely
Steve,
pathetic.
we do have a new code enforcement person. We have a new code enforcement officer.
That actually does something?
Well,
Dedicated just to that
she's
job.
dedicated just doing and addressing things of this nature. So, yes, I hear you loud and clear.
You need to put it out on the,
My new city administrator, myself and Jerry, we will talk about what options could be before us we could do lots of different things.
Well, they need to get with the program. Gonna have
No,
one
I'm with
more
you.
year of this. One more comment I have. I came up here a couple of weeks ago because I read it somewhere where they didn't have a city administrator. But I took a chance I might be able to talk to somebody. I'm looking for the city administrator, and this lady comes out of her little office there. I was impressed with her. She actually listened to what I had to say. And I'm not the great speaker of the world. But I was impressed with the short period of time I had a conversation with her. And once she gets rolling here, she'll get with the program. So you made a good choice.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Canby's not noted for city administrators, that they've had more city administrators in this town in 30 years. One of them only lasted a month. I think it was a month. Maybe it was 2 weeks. I don't know. Why the hell did they check them out? That's what they got a police force for.
Well, Steve, I'm gonna hang on to your phone number, and if we have to do anything like this here coming up, I will give you a call.
Why don't you, I wish I was the code enforcement gal. I'd be writing tickets more faster than you can have a meeting here.
I don't
would.
doubt it.
The people are so stupid, it's pathetic. They just piss me off because I have to go out and clean up their mess.
No, I'm with you.
Of course, I'm equipped with the right equipment to do it.
Sure.
So I didn't,
Steve,
I
thank
just
you
had to
very
vent,
much.
I had to vent myself.
No, I appreciate you coming and talking to us. Sorry that we,
You need to give the city works department more teeth so they can actually do something. You see, we need a strong ordinance, or we need to put it in the paper, or we need to do something that the people are gonna be fined, or whatever the case may be. We have to get a handle on this. You got more and more people living out here in Canby now. They're coming out by the busload. They're getting away from Canby, or from Portland. The good thing is I don't see too many homeless people out here. I don't know, that's a good job. I don't know, they just haul them out of here, or what the deal is. They got a ton of them. Portland waited too long to act. That's what their problem
they
is.
did.
They did.
Steve, thank you very
Oh,
much for
I didn't
letting
wanna
us
take
know.
up all your time, but I had
No.
to give you my 2 cents.
No, I appreciate it. Anytime.
appreciate it.
We're
I
here
didn't know.
twice a month, so come on down.
We're gonna see results.
We will work towards this
You want
piece
me
of
to
it.
pop in on occasion, see how you're doing on it?
Please do,
Sure.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
put me
may-
in charge. Yeah, I'll get it
Okay.
done.
And just remember, you got to fill out one of the cards and get in the first one, so that way you don't have to sit here. We'll get you.
Now you know. Now you know.
Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Thank you. Good night.
I love it.
That's great.
Thank you
Okay,
for that
so we
reordering.
took care of 14. We're gonna go back into item 10 this evening is new business, discussion of possibly cancellation of the December 20th, 2023 regular city council meeting. Eileen, how much is on that agenda right now?
For that meeting?
Yes.
Nothing.
Okay.
No business
motion?
items.
Well, I
just
bring it up,
discussion?
we bring it up every year. It's the week leading into a very, always usually a busy holiday season, so it's on there. I'm sure I can fill it.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Jason, go ahead.
I don't think we should cancel it. We have plenty of stuff on we have a ton of work sessions that we have said we need to get to, and I think we need to do the work of the citizens.
Do you want to turn it into a work session rather than a regular meeting? We don't have any items
I
scheduled.
mean, that's
for
just
the
my
regular
opinion. Clearly,
meeting.
others have
Yeah,
opinions, so
there's-
I'm just throwing that out there
No,
for.
that's
There's no
That's-
business items for a business meeting. Do we have work sessions that are ready to go? Or would we have to have staff prepare or?
I'm sure we've got, I can definitely follow up. If that's what we want to do for the 20th, is make it more of a work session type evening, then Eileen and I can convene here tomorrow or Friday and see what we can get put on for that agenda that staff is comfortable and ready to bring forward.
There.
Yes, oh, sorry. Yes, Counselor Davis.
I'm comfortable with leaving it up to you and the city administrator. If you feel that we can cancel the meeting because you don't have enough business or pertinent business, then I would say I'll leave it up to you and the city administrator to decide.
As much as I would love to take that responsibility on, that is not my purview. That is the purview of the council.
Okay,
I don't know what kind of.
I can
business
set,
you-
I can set an agenda if you want me to.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we cancel the business meeting for December 20th and direct staff to discover whether or not there is a work session ready to bring forward. And if there is, schedule that as a work session.
Second. Okay, motion has been made to change our December 20th meeting from usual business to a work session, depending on what may be fully prepared by staff to present on the 20th.
Yes.
Any question or comment? Does staff have an opinion?
No.
Okay. None that you're willing to say right now, maybe a year from now, right?
No.
And she still has
She's like,
the out.
she's like, I'm too new. I'm not.
She
I
still
just
has the
got
out. She can
job-
say there's
job.
nothing ready.
Okay.
No, let me check with my leadership team tomorrow.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. Our fastest decision this evening.
No kidding.
Next up is mayor's business. Just a couple of things. Clackamas County Coordinating Committee is tomorrow evening. There's nothing really on the agenda. It's more of just a kind of year-end, very light business evening. On Monday, I had the Region 1 Area Commission on Transportation, and we had a conversation about some key things. Just to let everyone know, the 217 project is about 60% complete. The, as we heard this evening, the 99E piece they're projecting should be finished by the end of 2025. There is discussion going on regarding the Boones Bridge expansion. There was a recent open house and 135 people attended that open house. They are mostly looking at making bike and pedestrian improvements on and around the bridge. There is a strong ODOT position that there is no appetite to add highways to get out of the congestion piece. So there isn't, which I'll get into in a second here. And there's a toll implementation report that'll be coming out soon that'll talk about time and scope and all of that piece. So there's more to come on that. The other discussion items were the discussion of the interstate bridge. Right now, thumbnail estimates are that that project will cost $6 to $7.5 billion to do. They will remain, the bridge will remain 3 lanes on either side. There will be no added expansion of additional lanes. As I said, they will be looking at adding bus on shoulder and light rail aspects to the bridge. And then, and hopefully adding emergency lanes to the bridge as well. So they're very committed to not expanding the bridge for car traffic. Funding wise, they're looking at, to be able to pay for this, bridge tolling, federal grants. Both Oregon and Washington have committed $1 billion each to the project. And they think the construction on the bridge will start somewhere late 2025, early 2026. There was the concern brought up that the Rose Garden road project and tolling aspect would coincide with the interstate bridge, which myself and the Clackamas County contingency argued that that would not be a good idea because they're going to push everybody over to 205 and down Powell and down all the other streets to get around that construction if they were both being done at the same time. Then the other final closer of the evening was a discussion on ODOT's revenue forecast. So every 6 months they look at it and readjust. Their solutions to their current funding or revenue gap is that they are looking at potentially increasing road user charges on electric cars, increasing the state's fuel tax by at least a penny, possibly 2 cents, increased registration by $10 on all cars in the state, and then doing a tiered vehicle registration for higher fuel efficient vehicles and electric vehicles. So there's a lot more that's being looked at on that front. So that was a very encouraging transportation meeting, and I mean that sarcastically. Friday night, this past Friday, we had Light the Night, the lighting of Waite Park and the tree. Again, I know that Jerry's here. Please extend to the parks team and Eileen as well. Please do the park looks great. Drove past it again tonight coming into town, and it was a great event. We had a few thousand people again at the park, even on a cold, drizzly night. So it was fantastic. Then we had, I think it was called Canby's Christmas in the City. Was that what it was called?
Christmas in Canby.
Christmas in Canby, which I heard was a huge success downtown. And so the snowman fundraiser is going on. So come down and look at the creative snowmen on the street corners. The one across from Oliver Insurance on the corner. So it's the Mexican restaurant there. And I stopped there and I always think there's someone standing there to cross the street. So, but they've done a great job. I love that. We go from scarecrows to snowmen. I think that's all that I have right now. We'll start with Counselor comments and liaison reports, and we'll start at the other end tonight with Counselor Stearns.
Turn this on. Not much to report there. They had the Bridging Cultures event. I went there and I participated in helping clean up the city by cleaning up the Baker Prairie afterwards. As far as what things that I'm concerned with, I just wanted to bring up just to follow up. Not, I probably don't have it ready yet, but a while back we thought it'd be a good idea to figure out which land and other assets the city has that are not currently in use or have planned uses on it. I'd kind of like to see that we are utilizing all the assets we have, especially if we're thinking about raising revenue. I would like to, before going to the citizens and asking for more money, to make sure that we're not having idle property.
I'm prepared to report on that tonight.
You are? Oh, good. Well, that's great. So that's good. And the other thing, when I first, my interview for being a city councilor, I talked a bit about need for something that I've seen in other cities, which another city was called a Citizen Academy. Talking to people that I know that find out that I'm on the city council, I get two reactions. One, right on, that's great. And the other one is those dirty, rotten scoundrels out there. And following up on that comment, a lot of times I feel it comes from a perspective of powerlessness and not being able to know what's going on. I think if the more people know about how the municipal government works, the more outreach out there, I think we won't ever eliminate that problem completely, but I think we can lessen it and give people, because I think that the power of interacting with the city for a citizen is knowing who to talk to and knowing how things work. The frustration comes when thinking that people should do things without being told or asked or find the wrong person to talk to. So I just wanted to reiterate that my desire for that, whether or not anybody else wants it or not. I just want to point out that was my desire.
And you refer to it as a citizen.
In another city I was in, it was Citizens Academy.
Thank you.
Actually, my wife has a certificate she got for passing it, and it involved attending once a month for a while. I went to several. One was hosted by the police. One was hosted by the planning commission. One was hosted by the maintenance, and so that everybody got to know who does what and how to talk to people, and face to face in knowing of the various city administrators, so that at the end of it, people knew who to talk to, one, and two, they knew which committees or other things that they could serve on. So I think it was a great way of recruiting people. It was also a good way of just communicating how the city works and how they can best interact to get things done in a good way.
Great. Thank you, sir. Anything else?
I think that, and the third thing actually I wanted to talk about, they had in the other city is some sort of online repair request system where people can interact. Like I noticed the other day, I think because of the windstorm, some of the signs were skewed, and I'm sure that the city fixed it, but it would be nice if I were to see something like that, that I thought that maybe was overlooked, that I could, there's some online way where you could geographically put a pin on a map or something. That's how it worked in the other city I was involved in, where you would say, okay, hey, there's a pothole here. And then they would get a feedback from the city and saying, hey, we're going to fix it. Thanks for letting us know. We're going to fix it later. Thanks for letting us know. Or thanks for letting us know we don't have any budget to do it. But either way, there is a interaction, and it's very easy to do with a computer system. And I know if this other city has it, that the software is probably out there that can be fairly easily, purchased to do that. I think other cities have had it, so I think it's doable, and I don't know that we have to, reinvent the wheel on that.
Right.
Great.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, Councilman Davis.
Park and Rec, again, very busy. At the meeting, Ken did report that the Locust Street Park graffiti is cut down a little bit. They've installed some cameras and are working with Canby Police Department. And since they've done that, they've been able to capture or talk to a couple young people and cut down on the graffiti on the bathrooms, because the park crew has to go in there quite often and repaint the bathrooms. So good job to the Parks Department in dealing with that particular issue. Community Park, just so you know, is closed from November 27th to December 27th because they're doing the bathrooms. Is that right, Jerry? Yeah.
Sewer pump station right now. Bathrooms are coming December like 18th.
Awesome. So when you see the bars closed, that's what they're doing down there at the community park. The scope of work on the exercise court at Legacy Park, they had to do some additional bids on that as well. So we're just waiting on that to be completed. Kara Hawkins talked about the City of West Lynn's Tree and Bench program and continues to bring that information back to the Park and Rec Committee. So we'll have more information about that as well, so that if somebody wants to plant a memorial tree in memory of somebody, or somebody wants to put a bench in memory of somebody, but they're vetting that out. And once they come up with a program, they'll send it on to council for consideration after it goes to the city administrator. So you guys will hear more about that as far as a memorial program for that as well. Then just to cut this a little bit short, because they've been doing a lot of work, the Park Auburn Farms community meeting went exceptionally well, very positive, a lot of really good input from the citizens, very positive. So they're taking those ideas in, working with the consultant, and then coming back with some finalized plans based upon the input that they received from the citizens that live up there. So you'll see more information on that as they come up with designs for the city council. And let's see, COGIO. We have a meeting this week, I believe, on Thursday, maybe tomorrow even, to meet with COGIO.
I think it's another week.
Pardon me?
I think it's another week.
Okay, maybe, yeah, it might be. It's this month.
Is it tomorrow?
It's tomorrow.
It is
Yeah, it's tomorrow with
It's
COGIO.
tomorrow.
And I appreciate Jamie putting that meeting together with the department heads and stuff.
Dang,
but,
it's tomorrow.
Time flies in December.
Patrick
8 a.m.
Patrick
tomorrow.
Sampson is got some updated information on possible property and stuff like that. So we have to be very careful about that because, but I appreciate the department heads and Eileen and COGIO for putting that meeting together so quickly. so that we can keep that project moving forward. That pretty much completes the Park and Rec. Just on the side note, fire department, we have a very active citizen emergency preparedness group now, a number of members that are training in the event of a major disaster. It's a very robust group, and along with our amateur radio operators. And so if we have a major disaster, they're back together again, and they're practicing and drilling on a regular basis, to where if we lose all emergency radio or communications, the amateur radio operator group can actually send messages back and forth to the EOC at the county or to the state, and they've drilled with the airport and everything else. So, and the CERT group is very active and well organized. I can honestly say that Canby is getting better prepared because of citizen involvement and volunteerism for the event of a major disaster. So good job to those groups as well. Everybody was having problems filling positions. As of a month ago, the fire department received applications for one paramedic for 6 vacancies, as well as only 5 EMTs. We now have 65 applications for EMT, and we have 18 for paramedics. So we're starting to see it shift a little bit in regards to recruitment, which is a good thing. So we're very pleased about that as well. I too would like to compliment city staff, Jamie Stickle and Tyler Nizer, for the organization of Friday's event, Light Up the Night, and Jerry's group for the park. Outstanding. You really get the downtown looking really good. So thank you very much. The Foursquare Church event was tonight, Journey Through Bethlehem. And I went down there for a little bit. That was outstanding. A lot of citizens down there walking through, as well as the pancake breakfast that happened down at the fairgrounds on Saturday morning for people. And we flipped a lot of pancakes down there for people and served breakfast down there, and Santa visited as well. And let's see, I just wanted to really, if we don't have a meeting, if we do, that's fine. But if we don't have a meeting, I just wanted to wish everybody, all the Canby city staff, as well as other counselors, a very happy and safe holiday season.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor. Just brief for me, I don't have any liaison meetings until later in the month, but I did want to echo the kudos for staff and the Public Works team. I knocked out of the park again. Everybody had a great time. And even though I was nervous, as I am every year, about that one intersection in the parade, nobody got squished. So, you know, we're good. And everything looked beautiful. So thank you again. Like I said, traffic safety isn't until next week, but I want to remind folks that back in June, I told you that ODOT gave us a grant of about $200,000 for enforcement during the construction, and they are out there. I can attest to two people very close to me that know they're out there. So make sure you don't have your phone in your hand and you're minding the traffic signs and speed limits, because they will nab you. They have extra people out there to make sure everybody is safe in the construction zone. And speaking of police, I did have the opportunity and the privilege to meet with Chief Tro down in the police station this morning, as they were receiving a donation from Citizens Bank. So they got one of those fun little big checks to go and contribute to their Shop with a Cop event that they're doing this Saturday, when they take kids at the school district, lets them know, they pick a few folks that they know that could use a hand up, and they take those little kiddos and they take them shopping, and they all have a little budget that they can spend. And so they made a donation towards that project. So we want to thank Citizens Bank for that. And Councilor Patton, what do you have?
So a little bit here and there. First of all, with the lack of a library liaison, I just want to promote that the Friends of the Canby Library are rebooting the Christmas Tour of Homes fundraiser that they do. And I am proud to say that I am on the tour this year. There's two houses on the tour. Originally, it was just going to be mine, and I thought that was very odd. But now they have two houses. Mine and Mary Lesser is the other individual. I will say that I encourage people to participate. It's $10 on December 6th from 2 to 6 p.m.
That's today.
No.
December 6th is today.
16th. No, sorry. I missed a one there. Yes. December 16th. So next Saturday, or the Saturday after next on the 16th.
Fabulous event.
So tickets are on sale for cash at Cuts Force and then cash and card here at the library. And just as a promotion, as far as, I'm not sure about Mary, but I know for my house, I've been working on my Christmas display since October 1st, really actually September 1st. So if people do decide to participate, it is a heck of a thing. So I encourage people to come out and check out what other people do for their Christmas displays and help support the Friends of the Canby Library. For Planning Commission, Councilor Hensley had been mentioning how we are caught up as a council on our minutes, but the Planning Commission's minutes are still back to August. And so if there's anything that we can do to help get the Planning Commission caught up on theirs, that was a problem back when I was on the Planning Commission. And now as their advocate, if there's anything we can do to help get them caught up. I know there's some reason why they're out further than the city council minutes because of different legal things, but anything that we can do to help get them caught up would be great. And then I also am pleased to have participated with the Light the Night festivities in the parade. Next year, if I can squeeze it into my Christmas decorating schedule, I hope to build a little float for the city council. So it might not be rideable because of, we don't want to, lawsuits and have Mr. Elsner or Mr. Doofman have to represent us in a horrible float accident. But we'll see what we can do for next year's Light the Night parade. And then on a bit of a serious note, I just wanted to give folks an update regarding the ethics violation and all of that. So a couple weeks ago, we had our final meeting, and I was present for that. The commission approved the stipulated agreement, and so we will be doing a training class, and there was some back and forth as to how that was all going to work and stuff, but in the end they approved it unanimously for us to go ahead and do that. There was some conversation back and forth among some of the council, some of us members, because there were some individuals that had not gotten their hard copy paperwork in. So just for transparency purposes, that conversation did occur. So people don't think that we were trying to do something, off the books, but we got that sorted out. So I'm looking forward to moving that forward and having that taken care of. And for me, that is it. Thank you. Oh, and if we don't have a meeting on the 20th and we go into next year, I do want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, other holidays, and a happy and safe New Year. Be sure not to drink and drive.
Amen to that. Yes. Merry Christmas, Canby, if we don't have it. We'll say Merry Christmas again on the 20th if we're here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all. Appreciate that. Thank you for finishing that, Council President Hensley. Appreciate it. We'll move into city administrator business and staff reports.
Okay, well, we are bringing up a map. I just want to report, council, that we have a finance director hired. He will start on, it's a he, will start on January 2nd, correct?
Yay.
Yes, so that process has been complete. There's going to be a little bit of overlap between he and Eric, but he will start with us on January 2nd. So we're very excited to have that hiring done.
Good.
Very excited. Merry Christmas.
Yes. Okay. Jerry, do you want to come up and talk about this map that we have prepared for the council.
Hello again, council. Hi, Jerry. Hi. Yeah, sure. Dawn's team did most of the work on it. Emma came down and met with the Public Works team, and we filled in on this map. And it's pretty accurate. There's a lot of stuff. And as I was sitting here, I thought of two other properties that are on there that we're going to add to it. But basically, looking at all the blue areas on this map is the city properties around town that I think Councilor Stearns, you were kind of wanting to look at. And, you know, a lot of them are parkland, of course, cemeteries. I think the cemetery that you worked on over on Knightsbridge is on there. And then stormwater facilities, the public works, and then the wayside property. So it's pretty much everything on here is inventoried, except if you guys, there's two that I just thought of that are a little bit bigger. And if you're going out of Knightsbridge, out of town, if you look to the left, there's a grass area. Someone used to have Christmas trees and shrubs in there, and it's kind of an area, and that's a little bigger parcel that I'm gonna be using for a future stormwater facility someday for treatment before it goes into the Moala River. And then the other one is if you ever go down North Juniper, there's a small parcel that connects to 12th Avenue on the other side. And it's like they were gonna connect the road from 12th over to Juniper Street, but they didn't have enough property to do it. So now it's kind of a walking path that goes through, and the property owners kind of maintain it and leave a pile, and we pick it up twice a year and stuff. So all of this property shown above, you have the Emerald Necklace is shown on there, the new park stuff over at Timber Park and all that. But a lot of this stuff was gifted to us that isn't being used, that will be someday for parkland, that was gifted to us for, not gifted, but given to us for SDCs. And anyways, I don't know if that's, I'm not really going over each parcel, but this map. And Councilor Stearns, if you ever, with a city administrator's permission, if you ever wanted to go for a quick drive, and I could show you these, but nothing real big that I can see that we'd ever want to sell, get rid of, that I can forecast on. There's some parkland that we should probably do something with in the future. And I know that like the properties over in Feist, there's a double lot over there that I know it's on the Parks Advisory Committee's radar. It's just not a priority. It's just kind of stuff we've ended up, but it's nice flat ground.
I heard they were looking at making it an RC track.
Well, they've had a lot of different ideas. So yeah.
Another pickleball court?
No pickleball court. I think it'd be too noisy, but a potential sports court or something like that. But yeah, other than that, that's basically, unless you have any questions on this or want to sit down and go over it. So
Well, I might want to sit down and go over it, but what I'm interested in idle property, and the one property that spurred my interest in the first place is the property on 4th and Fur Street. And I noticed, and I just looked that, because at that presentation, it mentioned it had been basically idle land since 2016. There's a nice big fat tank on it, and then there's some pumps on there. But I'm just wondering, and that's the one I know about that I'm concerned about, you know, as far as something that seems to be idling with actually even equipment that you might even be able to sell for copper or whatever on there. And so that's the one I know about, but I wonder if there's other properties like that that are essentially had a purpose, but not anymore, and there's something out there.
That's that's owned by Canby Utility.
Okay.
And so it is, and I don't know, they've currently, I think, completed their master plan, and I don't know if it shows anything with that, if they're ever gonna use it or anything, and it's just, even the past councils talked about that piece of property, and so, but we've never really gone anywhere with it.
Yeah, so this map is just those that are owned by the city.
Owned by the city.
Yeah.
Now, isn't Canby Utility Board officially a part of the city? Okay, I was under the impression there was some sort of wholly owned company.
The water infrastructure is owned by the city, but managed by charter through Canby Utility. If that makes sense. Is that saying that correctly, Councilor Padden? Yep.
Yeah.
And so the water mains themselves
Okay.
are city-owned, but but that property could be looked into because it is water. So I don't know, an ex-Counselor Parker, retired Counselor Parker, asked about it and was pursuing it a little bit. And he talked to the last GM, and the general manager that was there previously kind of said that, well, that could be the city's property. And then our last city attorney looked into it and got back to me and said that it was Canby utility property, and then it kind of stopped there. So I don't have any documentation or anything, but you look on, we use that Onyx a lot that shows who owns it, and it says Canby utility. And so,
Okay,
but
I'm just, anyway, my idea that where I'm going is properties that are idle or not have any planned uses. And that's the one that came to my mind because I used to live next to it. And, you know, eventually it's gonna deteriorate and it's gonna be a mess to clean up if it isn't already. I think the mess will be worse, the more liability kind of versus asset on there. But anyway, so but I might want to sit down and talk to you, see look at other properties that may not have it be immediately used or have plans for use.
you know, and maybe Counselor Padden could dig into that property a little bit when he's talking to, aren't you the Canby utility liaison?
It's on the list.
Is it, okay, that might help because
I
they
just added
have,
to my notes.
they have quite a bit of property too, similar to ours around town.
Yeah, and like I say, there may be build a new water plant that we talked about, but it's good to have the old stuff, at least not the stuff that's not being used, properly disposed of before they come and say, hey, give us more money for a new one, you know.
Yeah.
Could this map be emailed to us? It's not in the packet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it in the packet?
It's not in the packet.
I think it needs to be, I'm sure it is already, but be able to be blown up a little bit so you can kind of see a little more detail.
And Counselor Stearns, if you look up at the area where Public Works is, the big blue square, you'll see the white out of the center. That's where we traded that land to Canby Utility for their future reservoir for their 54% of Public Works, the Public Works property.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry.
Is that it?
Yep.
Thank you.
The next item, there was a question on what happens if we basically ignore the requirement for UGB expansion and we don't expand. And so Don is here to respond to that question.
Good evening again. Councilor Padden asked the question previously, and I won't go into an exhaustive review given the late hour tonight, but just wanted to do a highlighted version of this. Work with David on this as well. So I looked at several Oregon revised statutes on this. Essentially, the foundational framework on the comprehensive plan and urban growth boundary expansion is based on housing needs for Canby over a 20-year period, which is based on the housing needs analysis. If that shows, and it does, that there's a need for expansion of the urban growth boundary, the state pretty much mandates that has to be done. On the employment side of things, that is actually an optional thing for the city. It's up to the city to determine that, but that also is important to look at economics in light of everything from sports complexes to employment and those kinds of things for our future and the financial viability of the city. So really the fundamental of this is if we were to say at this point, you know, we're not going to do anything, there's several things that possibly could happen. One is individual property owners could petition this and say to Land Conservation and Development and say there's an issue here, and then LCDC could issue a enforcement action against the city. What that would ultimately mean is we would have funding cut off from the city. And it's pretty clear in the ORSs that the funding would be denying state funding, state grant funding to cities, non-compliance, and denying state share of revenues. That's very articulated in the Oregon revised statutes. So the end result is the state pretty much mandates that planning for housing needs to occur in the state of Oregon, and that is the framework that exists here. So there's really not an option to say, no, we're not going to grow and accommodate housing based on 20-year population forecasts. That's kind of the thumbnail.
Yeah, they get a little cranky when you want to challenge the whole expansion or not expanding, or at least going through the process.
I think there's some of that, and I think, even going further back, just my own thoughts on this is, I mean, Oregon land use was voted in by property owners, as I understand it, and so like there's foundational issues to this, like you guys bought into this. This is part of our system here. Welcome to Oregon. This is kind of how we do things here. I mean, it's just, and it's not uncommon. I think same thing happens in Washington. The same things happen. It was slightly different, but under growth management, if you were a GMA county because you were a certain population, you were forced to do it. And some of them resisted until they realized they had no state funding, and then they complied. And so there were actually examples of that. And I think Oregon has followed a similar suit. But David was very helpful in kind of guiding that discussion. So if there's questions, I'm happy to respond.
Go for it.
I would just be curious, I know I could comb through the budget, but I'd probably miss some of the numbers. How much the city gets in those state shared revenue funds? How much would be in jeopardy, essentially?
And I don't have that number or those figures, but I would say probably something we do not want to be without, would be my guess.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why I posed this question was because at some of these events that we've had, you can tell that there is some consternation about going through this process. And I have found that those folks that have a majority of the folks that have consternation about this process, when told if we don't participate in it, the government will come in and do whatever they want, and this is what it will look like, they then are more amiable to thinking more in depth about the process. And so I think this nugget of information as a talking point for those interacting with folks in the community about this process and why the city's going through it, if coming up against that sort of wall, this would be a good tool in the toolbox for sort of shifting that conversation and opening minds back up, essentially.
Good point.
And I was just going to also, I know there's a large discussion about our attorneys. David's been great to work with. There's a lot to come in land use. It's really fairly complicated stuff, and a lot of that's coming to you next year. Don't want to sound ominous or anything, but just there's a lot of layers and pieces to this, which we will definitely need legal support on. We're trying to do this in a way that follows the state standards to the T. So it's not legally challenged later. It's complicated enough just to do it, but then to hopefully avoid a legal challenge. So I'm just very impressed with the work David's done to date, and I support the decision and the conversation that happened earlier tonight.
Thanks.
Don, I just wanted to say again, great job on those summits.
Thank you. Yeah.
Those are excellent.
And just an observation, obviously, we weren't quite ready for the large number of people. We will be probably doing Baker Prairie next time, school, and we're looking at a much larger venue. That is success in many ways, although it was kind of chaotic there for a moment where it was a little rushed, and I think we want to do a little better job of defining the purpose at the beginning of that. We felt like we needed to get on with it because people were getting really anxious, and we just had to let's get this going, and but it was very pleased to see the notification, especially for those people outside of the boundary that are in the study area. That has been a fairly significant response to the number of people that we notified. Right. I mean, a high percentage of those people, they're talking to their neighbors. That's what we want. We want that conversation. We want people in the city to have that conversation. But obviously, the venue needs to be a larger venue next time. We will spend more time on defining issues better. There's many overlapping processes here. Like that was just the land use portion. There will be transportation issues. They're parallel in concert with this. We can't do everything all at once in one venue, and it's sequenced based on the state standards and the process. But every comment's important in this process.
Yeah, well, nice job punting the ball that night. You
Well,
guys
thank
did
you.
a
Yeah,
good job.
Thank you.
Don, have we determined the next dates on?
It'll be probably in January. We know the venue. Jamie Stickle and I are working on the exact date. So the two things I'm hoping to have before we finish this month off is to get an advertisement out for that. So those dates are confirmed for January for the next summit. That will be a repeat because there were so many people. Some people left. But it will be a repeat of that same process with more of a description on the front end because we'll have time instead of just feeling like we're rushed to get into it. The second thing will be another listening session with just the urban growth boundary people that are in that study area. Other people can show up to that meeting, but it's primarily focused on the study area. That will be probably in February. That'll be another discussion to go through those elements again. We've obviously got interest there. I've gone on a tour with some folks that were, like, this should not be considered kind of thing, and we're open to that. So I've already met with some people off of Madrona, and just kind of their thoughts, and we're happy to do that now. And part of that is there's a ton of mapping exercise work we're doing right now as well, which will lead into scenario planning. That mapping exercise looks at everything from farmland viability to slopes to floodplain to critical areas to other factors that are involved in the decision making about what properties are more likely favorable versus those that should not even be considered.
Great. Councilor Patton.
In talking about that, you jogged my memory. That night, there was a gentleman there that had mentioned that he had not gotten a card. And he was a landowner in the area. You may remember.
The study area, yeah.
And I want to make sure that he got taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually had an extra, if it's the same gentleman, I actually had an extra card with me. And I know that's not the same as getting it in the mail, but we're using what the GIS has from the county.
Sure.
And, apologies to that, but that is the database. I'm glad that his neighbors are talking. To some extent, we may not be able to solve that because it is the database. Yeah,
I'm just hoping that that someone from the city reached out to him and had a conversation with him.
And I think I know the gentleman. Well, there was a gentleman that I spoke to for a while and at a table, and he had not received a card, so that may have been the same.
I think Jamie had given him some contact or gotten his contact information and stuff, and so I just want to be sure that he got reached out to.
Absolutely. Yep.
That was it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don.
The last item I have, Council, is just wanted you to know that Canby was featured in the fourth quarter issue of the LOC magazine, Local Focus. So that was pleasing to open that up and see the City Hall restoration, the Demuro Award that was given to Mary Hanlon, and it was featured. So
Nice.
just wanted you to see that. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Thank you very much. We've already taken care of the next round of citizen input, unless there's anything. I'll look at the citizens here. No? Okay. Action review.
You have approved the consent agenda, approved a noise variance for ODOT for night work on 99 East between Berg Parkway and Pine Street from December 2023 through November 2020. For amplified music from 8:30 p.m. on Sunday, December 31st, 2023 through 12:30 a.m. on Monday, January 1st, 2024. Approved resolution 1399 and moved to change the December 20th City Council meeting to a possible work session, provided staff has topic prepared.
Great. Perfect. Before I take a motion to adjourn, I just want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a safe New Year. We may see you in 2 weeks. We may not. We'll keep you posted. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, Canby, we are adjourned. Have a great evening.
Thank you.